What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 706 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags edition of the week. We, of course, are going to be breaking down everything we feel like talking about that happened over the past few days in pro wrestling, from the news, the rumors, gossip, TV recap, people getting new names, people popping up on different shows, all sorts of different things. Big title change, a new title being unified / not. It's kind of confusing. We got a lot to get into this week. So, of course, if you don't know who we are, let's introduce ourselves. I am Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robert E. Felice.
Hello.
And, of course, we always want to know what you have to say as well. So drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Tell us your reactions to what we have to say and tell us what you have to say about these topics or anything else. You know, you could leave a comment about it, whatever else. Give me an alternative recipe to the mac and cheese that I made last night or something, for all I know. But the different ways that you can chime in with your thoughts are, of course, all the different platforms that you're checking us out on. If you are on smarkoutmomo.com, leave a comment there. If you are on Facebook, Twitter, all those good things. If you are on YouTube, of course, then make sure that you leave a comment there. That's the best way for me to actually see what's going on and be able to interact with you. There's also the Discord channels that we have, so hop on over to our server and join that. Chat it up at any point in time about anything on any of those channels. And, of course, if you are on YouTube, then make sure that you also hit the like button on this, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, get your email alert set up. Click on the share button to help spread the word about this podcast. And if you want to help us out on the monetary side of things, the thanks button is there, as well as the join button. The join button gives you the YouTube channel membership access to the same stuff as the Patreon, just slightly better because you get the live things if we go live for any kind of special members only kind of content that's out there. But both that and the Patreon have the Darkcast tier, which we just recently had recorded. And if you want to check that out and check out the Mount Rushmore of baby faces that we want to finish out our list on, that is the most recent episode 80, I believe, is the number that we were on for the Darkcast. You can only get the Darkcast tier if the Darkcast podcast if you are on the Darkcast tier. Let's keep that in mind. But anyway, hot tags, like I said, a lot to talk about. And before we get into a lot of the things where we can kind of spin it around one topic to another, let's talk about an outside AEW, outside WWE topic. Let's talk about New Japan Dominion happening on the 15th this weekend in Osaka, Japan. Of course, pretty much it's like, has it been in Osaka for like all of Dominion? Or is it just like that they tend to go there?
It's usually Dominion in Osaka, right?
Yeah.
It's been in Osaka-jo since 2015. It's been in Osaka. It's been in Osaka the entire time, but it's been in that one particular stadium or arena, however you want to refer to it, for best part of, over 10 years now.
So Dominion in Osaka-jo Hall, 10 matches on the card according to Wikipedia right now that I'm looking at. I, of course, do not watch New Japan, so I am out of the loop for some of the stuff. But the more that I watch, the more I get into the loop. So. Perpetually, we have a little bit more to say on my front, but it's mostly you guys. So I'll kind of pass the baton over to you guys to give a much better breakdown than I would.
By that, he means he's passing the baton over to Callum because I haven't been keeping up with New Japan.
Oh, well, I haven't really either, but I know enough about these guys to do it. I mean, I'm watching bits and pieces. Like, it's not as thorough as I used to, but I can at least give some sort of context on some of them. So the first match doesn't really matter because it's your typical young boys dark match to start things of Katsuya Murashima and Shoma Kato versus I think it's Daiki.
Daiki.
Yeah, Daiki Nagai and Masatora Yasuda. It's hard to kind of with the pronunciation sometimes. I don't really know enough about any of these guys to say, but it's they're all young boys in a tag match, so realistically either side could win, and they'll win by applying a Boston Crab.
Is that what typically happens?
Yep. Yeah. That's basically the finisher of every young boy's Boston Crab.
Why?
It's just a standard hold.
Yeah, That's the thing about the young boys wrestling is like you're not supposed to do anything particularly flashy or over the top. Like the most flashy move that you'll see them do is a drop kick, probably.
Wow, that sounds boring as all hell to be like, hey, don't be entertaining.
Well, that's the thing. No, that's the thing is that it's the idea that you need to ensure your fundamentals are good before you can then go on excursion to whatever place to go to, and then you develop a gimmick after being on excursion, and that's when you start having your own kind of character and moveset attached to you. It's just the way they do things, and they do train people really well. So then we get into the actual main card. So your typical like tag team matches don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Bullet Club War Dogs, Drilla Manoni, Colt Connors, Taiji Ishimori, and Chase Owens against the House of Torture, Sanada, Ren Narita, Yujiro Takahashi, and someone to be announced. Before you ask, no, I have no idea who to be announced is. And this is essentially a Bullet Club implosion. So House of Torture used to be a subsection of Bullet Club, and Bullet Club War Dogs is kind of a subsection of Bullet Club, and they were both together as the unified Bullet Club. But since then, it's all kind of fallen apart. Sanada was part of Bullet Club War Dogs, but he turned his back on them, so he joined House of Torture instead. So yeah, it's all a bit of a mess, really. And so it's kind of weird, because realistically, they're two heel groups, but Bullet Club War Dogs are kind of presented as the babyface in this feud. So I assume House Torture will win because there's someone to be announced, and we have no idea who that person is as of this moment in time. So I imagine they'll help them win the match. But it's just like, your prelim tag, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Same thing for like El Fantasma and Shota Umino versus TMDK's Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Oiwa. It's quite funny, actually, considering like the main event of Wrestle Kingdom was Zack Sabre Jr. and Shota Umino, and now they're here and Dominion about 6 months later in a prelim tag match.
Yeah, it kind of seems like a massive fall down.
Really depressing if you think about it. Like,
yeah, again, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things who wins. This basically, this is the last big show before G1 kicks off. So these are 4 guys that are probably going to be in G1. So basically, just take your pick. Really, I'll just say Phantasmo and Shota Umino win because Oe was the least established guy out of all of them, so he's the easiest one to pin.
Makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
You say the same?
No, I that's totally fine. I think I'd like to see Zack Sabre Jr. win and maybe get back up there, but I guess maybe they have other plans.
So we have Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Yu Uemura. This essentially it's the Hiroshi Tanahashi retirement tour, so he's doing a lot of things, and this is going to be one of the matches against one of the younger up-and-coming guys of New Japan and Yu Uemura. So I imagine he'll put Uemura over, because I imagine Tanahashi's not really winning many matches between now and retiring.
When is his retirement? Is it Wrestle Kingdom?
Yeah, it'll be Wrestle Kingdom, yeah. That'll be his final match.
They haven't said who he's going to fight yet, right?
No. They'll need to get through G1 first. I imagine it'll be someone who doesn't win the G1 will get the opportunity. Have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Championship match, which is Yo and Master Wato versus House of Torture's Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So we know that these two aren't going to be in the 8-man tag match that took place earlier. Yeah, but as I say, the IWGP Junior tag titles just don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I think I need to check this actually, because I know that Yo was in the Best of Super Juniors final. I cannot remember who won it out of the two of them.
Definitely not Nick Wayne.
No. Let me just check Best of Super. If I can type, which I can't seem to do because this. I need a new keyboard.
I love my my R-Tech that I've been using. Recommend that.
I'll keep an eye out for it. Yeah, let's see.
Super Juniors 2025 seems
so it's
like
Koze Fujita won, which makes sense. So I was wondering, because if Yo had won, then it meant that he'll probably drop the tag title so he can concentrate on his match coming up for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, but he lost. So, again, this is up in the air. It's a title that doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. So I'll just say House Torture wins, so they change the title. Now for the actual tag team champion. Oh, sorry, if you want to go throw for a prediction as well.
Let me just see. So yeah, I would say House of Torture should win here, but like, you don't know. I honestly don't know why these tag team titles are still in existence. They need to just have the one set and let the juniors flop around with the heavyweight tag team guys as well. I think that would be better for the division.
Okay, so this one's an interesting one. It's a United Empire of Great Khan and Callum Newman defending the tag team championships against Tomohiro Ishii and Taichi. The reason why this is a bit of an interesting one is that Ishii and Taichi aren't in the same faction. Like Ishii is part of like the the Chaos and the general New Japan babyface group, and Taichi's part of Just Four Guys. But they're going to team together to take on two members of United Empire. I think it's just like a mutual respect thing. Like Just Four Guys are a babyface act, so I guess it's just bringing those two together and they're kind of like the more hard-hitting, never open weight champion type. So I guess it makes sense in that regard. But I imagine it would just mean the United Empire retain the titles because they're the more established tag team and more established faction.
Or is there potentially like maybe a merger that'll end up happening in the future where you think it'll be like Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii kind of facilitate like Just Four Guys going into the Chaos group or something?
There's always the potential for that to happen. I mean, Just Four Guys like gone through the ringer quite a bit, really. Because right now it's like they lost Kanemaru at one point. They've lost Sonada to War Dogs, who then left House of Torture. Like Sonada's just been jumping from faction to faction over the last few years. But yeah, so right now they're just Dookie, Taka Michinoku, Taichi, and Yu Uemura. And Taka Michinoku doesn't really wrestle that much anymore, so basically they're a three-man like wrestling stable. So yeah, I'd be surprised if they didn't like disband at some point soon. So it would make sense to make them fully babyface and transition them over to the other side. I don't think it will happen with them winning the tag titles here, just because I don't think that Ishii's doing a lot more stuff in terms of the state side things because he's currently the New Japan Strong champion as well. So I imagine the titles will just stay where they are.
Yeah, I believe that.
Kazuchika Okada versus Boltin Oleg for the Never Openweight Championship. I'm a big fan of Boltin. Like he's still green, but he's very solid, very strong. He's got a good crowd connection. This could be an interesting match. It's a really good test for him against someone of the skill set of Takeshita. I think Takeshita will retain because I think they'd like having him around as part of like this almost part-time thing between him, timeshare thing between him and AEW. But yeah, I imagine that he'll retain the title and carry it forward at least until Forbidden Door.
Makes sense.
I would agree. I like Oleg though, and I hope he continues to prosper. He's pretty good.
Then we have David Finlay versus Evil in a dog collar chain death match.
I like dog collar matches. I don't know how I feel about Evil and Finlay having a dog collar match.
I've been very impressed with in the things I've seen of Finlay in the last year or so. I think he's gotten a lot better. Evil is always it's Evil, and also this is Bullet Club War Dogs versus House Torture again, with just the two front runners of the groups taking on each other.
Have they fully transitioned yet into just being War Dogs? Like, have we buried Bullet Club?
No, they're still Bullet Club War Dogs.
Okay.
Still technically, that's how they refer to themselves. They still do the Bullet Club poses and stuff. So, yeah, I think they'll have Finlay win this one because I just think he's the more, not the more established act, but the one that I think they want to propel to World Championship level in the future, or in the near future, should I say? Because Evil is a former World Champion as well. Not saying, as again, it could go either way, but I think they'll end up going with Finlay. Because I also think they'll have the House Torture win the opening tag match, so it makes sense to have the other guy win the dog collar match. So hopefully it's fun because I imagine there'll be weapons all over the place. I imagine we'll get loads of interference from Bullet Club War Dogs and House of Torture in this one as well. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I'd like to see Finlay win. I'd like to see House of Torture go away. But like, I understand that's probably not in the cards. Finlay's improved tremendously and has been a blast to watch throughout 2025 when I am watching New Japan. And I've just never felt that way about Evil.
So the semi-main event is Yota Tsuji defending the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship against Gabe Kidd. This was a lot harder to predict until Gabe Kidd started showing up in AEW. And now I think that Yota Tsuji's just going to retain.
Now, have they done the press conference yet? I know that there was like the remaining undeclared members of LIJ were going to do a press conference, and Yota was one of them. Have they done that yet?
Not that I've seen, but then again, I'm not like fully as entrenched as I used to be, so I think might just have to have a quick look to see if there's anything.
Well, I like both of these guys a lot. I hate the creation of the Global Championship as opposed to the Intercontinental and United States titles. I think those, they looked better. They sounded better. Global just sounds like World. It is what it is.
We'll talk about the names of championships when we talk about the Unified title later.
I'm getting that out here because I'll have something different to say about the Unified title. But Gabe Kidd should probably win. I think it'd be cool to have him have a secondary championship in New Japan. But Yota Tsuji has always screamed superstar to me, so I wouldn't mind if he won either.
So, according to people that have said about what happened at the conference, is that they basically spoke about what kind of groups they would be interested in joining, in the fact that like LIJ is basically going to split up. With Tsuji saying that he's interested in joining either House of Torture or Hontai, which is the main kind of New Japan babyface group. Hiromu wants to go anywhere except Hontai, so except the main babyface group. And Shingo said, yeah, I'm not really interested in going anywhere. He'll just be an independent guy. So that's interesting. The Tsuji says he's interested by probably the main babyface group and the main heel group of New Japan. So that's quite a weird.
Very much sitting on the fence there, pal.
Yeah. Hiromu's saying that he'll join anybody except for the main babyface group. So I mean, who knows? Because Hiromu's not on the card, so maybe he's the fourth guy of House of Torture. I have no idea. So yeah, as I say, I think Yota Tsuji will win just because Gabe Kidd, to me, just seems like he's a log to join AEW next year.
You don't think that would be the type of thing where they give the belt to Gabe Kidd so that way he's on the card for Forbidden Door defending that, and then just like drop the belt over the course of the next year?
Well, I think Gabe Kidd will be on the card for Forbidden Door anyway. I think more likely he'd be on Forbidden Door in the capacity of being like teaming with the Death Riders, rather than defending a title. So, I mean, you never know. Maybe they do decide to do it so he gets part of the lineage. I mean, he has like been super over for a long time in New Japan, but that kind of fanfare has started to die down now that he started appearing in AEW because they've started to see the writing on the wall with him. Because the reason why he got so over was his big like passion of like, oh, I'm what New Japan stands for, and I'm going to show that against Kenny Omega and have like a great match against him. And so basically they bought into him because they saw him as a non-Japanese person, but a bastion of New Japan. And now he's just appearing in AEW a couple of times. They think, oh, he's going to go just join them when his contract is over. So the fanfare around him isn't as strong as it was like 6 months ago. Then we get the main event. Hiroki Goto defending the IWGP World Championship against Shingo Takagi.
This is coming purely from an American fan perspective, and I understand that I'm not like locked into, the Japanese wrestling scene right now. This run has done nothing for me because, I tend to prefer when the title's on names that have more broad appeal. But I'm glad Goto's getting the run, and I don't really want to see it go back to Shingo. So I'm thinking he defends and goes into the G1 as champion.
So, I mean, it's quite interesting because I assumed when Goto won that it was kind of your Golden Watch type championship reign, that Goto is a veteran that's been around for a long time, never got to hold the world title, and they gave it to him being Zack Sabre Jr., and it's like, okay, this is like, fairy tale run. He wins it at a older age, and he gets a nice little short run, then he drops it to a more established main event guy like a Back to Zack or Shingo Takagi, or if you're pushing David Finlay or Konosuke Takeshita, someone of that ilk. I don't know all the details, but at least according to what I hear from people, ever since Goto's won the title, business has upturned significantly in New Japan.
That's awesome.
Like, attendances are up. There's a lot of... He is super over as a babyface champion right now. So I think they would be... I think part of the reason why he's so over is the fact that, like, everyone thinks that any title match he has, he could lose the title because he's Hiroki Goto. So it just feels like there's a lot more intrigue in all of these matches coming up, because if he keeps holding it, then it always feels like he's in jeopardy of losing the title, because, he's a guy that for the last, 4 years or so has just been a strictly a tag team guy, pretty much, with Yoshihashi. So for him to be now the world champion, it just feels like there's so much more investment in the title matches, because you never know when that title switch is going to happen.
We call that the Jey Uso principle in America.
I don't know if his reign saw the same sort of upturn in. I think basically everything in terms of sentiment to WWE has gone on a downturn since Jey Uso became world champion. I don't know whether
but that's not the fault of Yeet, okay? Like,
no,
Yeet sells merchandise.
But I think Goto will retain. I think they'll have Goto go into the G1 as world champion.
I agree.
And I have no idea.
We didn't know the Goto as world champion until I mentioned it offhandedly on a podcast a few weeks ago.
Goes to show how much that I'm tapped into New Japan. This is like, wait a minute, Zack Sabre Jr. lost that belt.
But yeah, that's Dominion then. So we'll see what things fall out of that. Because the next big show after next big thing for New Japan after this would be the G1, and then after that, the next big thing is Forbidden Door. So see how that all falls together in the build up till Wrestle Kingdom. But yeah, it's their second biggest show of the year, so I might make sure to check this one out just because. Yeah, it's a big show. Most of the matches look pretty interesting. I imagine there'll be at least 2 or 3 really good ones. So.
Boy, that's depressing that we're already rounding the corner to being on the road to January. But I like Dominion. Dominion, for WWE American fans, I would say this is like their SummerSlam, wouldn't you? Like, this is their...
Oh yeah, this is their second big show of the year. This is your equivalent to your SummerSlam, I guess, in AEW perspective. But realistically, they only have one big show of the year, and the rest of them are pretty evenly matched. But I guess you'd argue if the second biggest show in AEW is probably Double or Nothing. But it could be, you could score it Revolution. It doesn't really matter really, but New Japan realistically have 2 big shows, 2 big shows per year, which is Dominion and Wrestle Kingdom. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. If you don't really watch New Japan, it's basically one of the 2 shows outside the matches for the G1 that you should probably watch every year.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to be watching it most likely. I don't know if I might do a coverage of it, but I know one thing I'm going to be watching. This is another outside of, well, I mean, we're going to talk about people from AEW and WWE, but I know I'm going to be checking out American Gladiators. Now, we had talked about this before, and I had written up an article about it. I said a lot of the same things on the podcast of people that I thought would make a lot of sense to be cast as American Gladiators, because it was like, all right, there's a certain feel to that type of show. There's a certain, you need the athleticism, you need the look of, super muscular people and everything, over the top personalities. And I had given a list of a lot of people, about maybe a dozen or so, that were current WWE people or former WWE people, AEW people, indies, anything along those mix, because you got to look around for a lot of things. It's not going to be just people that are on the active roster. You're going to have past and present and everything. But the Miz hosting, there was always an opportunity for that to be the case. And I am going to pat myself in the back for some of these, because some of the people that I specifically have mentioned are legitimately cast on the show. Now, obviously, a lot of people that I tossed out weren't. Like, I had even said, like, hey, somebody like a Julius Creed would be great on this, but he's clearly not going to do it because he's currently on the roster or whatever. And somebody like a Zoe Stark could really work. Well, she not only is a current roster member, but she also has an injury and, so on and so forth. But we have a cast list now of who has been added to the show. And a good number of the people, there's 16 people that they're going to be gladiators right now. The overwhelming majority of them are people that are outside of pro wrestling. Abigail Lay Allende, I'm assuming is pronunciation, Warren, Danny Means, Danny Spiegel, so Dani is like a popular name. Drew Agoras, Emily Nelson, Fessy Shafat, Jason Peel, Joseph Hall, Lou Faustin, and Sydney Hunter. Don't know anything about them. Neither any of the three of us aren't going to know anything about them. They're all like fitness people or something. But there are 5 names that we do know to a certain extent. One of them I don't know, but maybe you guys might be familiar with Jessica Roden, who is a pro wrestler from OVW that calls herself the Ultimate Athlete J-Rod.
I've seen some of J-Rod, I believe, doing stuff for the NWA, and they're fine,
Haven't
Good
seen
opportunity
anything.
Yeah, not seen any of her work. So
Yeah. So I mean, that's the pro wrestler that it's pro wrestler on the indies. We haven't heard about her, but whatever. But we certainly have heard about the other 4. One that I'm more familiar with than you guys, I maybe to an extent differently, but Jessie Godderz is going to be on here. A name that I had mentioned because I was like, well, Mr. Pectacular over from Big Brother, and he wrestled in a couple different promotions like TNA and stuff, that he would make perfect sense because he has reality show experience. He's a jacked dude that wants to be a wrestler, like all that stuff makes perfect sense to be on this show. They haven't said any of their names yet, like the whole Gemini and Nitro and Laser and all that other kind of stuff, but they might end up going with Mr. Pectacular and just be like, hey, license that out or something. I don't know. He makes perfect sense.
Yeah, perfect fit for this. He's got the reality show experience. He needs something else to do outside of plugging OVW on social media, so I'm glad to see him get this role. I liked him when he was in TNA. Was it like 15 years ago at this point? Like doing the broman stuff with Robert Stone, for those NXT fans. I think this is a good move.
yeah, I remember him back in like TNA. I think he was originally brought in as Tara of Victoria's boy toy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's kind of it's a name that I haven't seen him in a while, so I don't know. I presumably, if he's been cast in this show, he's kept up the physique very well.
Oh, he looks exactly the same. He still moves the same. He's perfect fit for this. Not the most perfect fit. We'll get to that in a minute, but like he's a perfect fit for this.
I mean, he totally play like I said, like with like previous like Gladiator, especially with it, at least in the UK version. There's always like this super bad guy heel Gladiator they need to have. So he can definitely play that role because he's got a very punchable face.
It's very much like the at least I don't remember in the most recent American version, but in the past there's been more like, okay, this one's got a little bit more of an edge to him, and he's kind of like more of a dick in like the Eliminator and like a better reputation in the Joust for being more cutthroat and stuff. So they might end up playing that up and making him like the gladiator that nobody wants to root for, kind of. Eric Bugenhagen. Some people might go, what fuck? But Rick Boogs. He was the first name that I mentioned on my articles and stuff about being like, Well, you got to get Rick Boogs. I mean, he's fucking that. You can't get better than Rick Boogs. The
He's
dude's a
all
lunatic
energy.
who's jacked up and fucking plays the guitar and stuff. And
Jacked up lunatic.
he needs to be named Shred.
I like this. This fits. I hope that him having this path keeps him away from saying some of the crazier stuff
Yep.
that he has said. But like,
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a nut job, isn't he?
No, totally.
everything
Perfect
needs
for
a
this.
job. Everything needs a job. Sometimes when you don't have one, you go look crazy. No, but I'm glad Rick Boogs is getting a shot.
And if he's not Shred, he needs to be Axe or some kind of guitar thing, and he needs to have the guitar as part of this.
He needs to have the guitar.
Man, Mountain Rock, bring it back.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe he's rock, or metal. Like it's something music based, something guitar based. It has to be. If he comes out and he's fucking, I don't know, Ice, I'll be like, yo, come on, it's right in front of you.
How about instead of plectrum, he's pectrum?
There you go. See, this stuff writes itself. It's so good. There's also Kamille, aka Kaylee Latimer.
Yep. This look, I don't know if this completely explains everything with her being absent, but I'm glad to see that this is a perfect fit for her. She's gonna be the final boss woman gladiator, and I think that's the best role for her.
I actually don't think that she's going to fill that role. So looking at the Instagrams of some of these other ones, oh god, I forget which one exactly it was. Was it Sydney Hunter or was it one of the Dannies? One of them was like super jacked and really tall and looked like she could just like wreck everybody. I mean, for the most part, most of them could. So this the Danny L. Spiegel, I think she could end up being that kind of final boss. I could see the Sydney Hunter one being that kind of final boss. I don't think Camille's going to fill that role, but I think that this is a good fit for her.
Yeah, she definitely has the kind of build for it. I think she'll be. She was never great with promo stuff that I recall. Maybe she's gotten better. She got better towards the end of her stuff with like NWA, but maybe she could be one of those like silent killer types.
Yeah, I think the personality thing might be a little bit hard. She's not going to be in Rick Boogs, that's for sure.
Boogs.
And then there's a guy, you might know, Michael Wardlow, who we definitely talked about as this guy should be on the show if he has the, like if he's not injured in some kind of way or whatever. And yeah, Wardlow is not going to be called Wardlow. That wouldn't make any sense. Like they're going to give him some other kind of name, but I
Come
mean,
on, he's the war dog.
There you go. Go ahead, fucking do that.
Oh my! Look, this is fantastic. First of all, I'm just glad I'm going to see Wardlow. Like, I think he'll do great in this role, and I hope both he and Kamille get to return to AEW after this. Like, you know, I want to see them back in AEW, and it makes sense that they're away doing this. But I'm hoping that this is the vehicle back onto TV stardom for them.
Yeah, I think from what I saw of obviously you know how good Wardlow can be. He's like super athletic as well, so he can do some really cool stuff in terms of things in Gladiators as well. Because he can do the he could do like moonsaults and stuff along those lines as well. That probably a guy of his size and build shouldn't be able to do. But yeah, I think that it could be a vehicle for him to get back onto TV, because I know that the reason why he was off TV in the first place, he got injured, and then I think he got into a car accident that excelled the injury. And he's been like healthy for a while, but he said that he wouldn't be able to go back to AWL because he had lined up. I don't know whether it said like lined up like film or TV work, and if it was TV work, then it could be all this. He's going to be on Gladiators instead. Yeah, so yeah, that's probably been part of the reason. Just a series of incidents that have kept him out of the spotlight for AEW. But yeah, this is a good move for him. So whether it does end up with him going back onto TV with AEW, or it's just a case of, okay, this builds up my reputation to move on to something else, whether that's WWE or like just a general TV or movie career after this. It's a good move for it.
So that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on for sure. I don't remember if they've said when this is going to air yet, but and for anybody that's curious too, you can look up the other people like Roxy, or I don't know what her name is. Diaz is going to be one of the hosts, and some sports commentator named Chris Rhodes. I don't know either of those names, but that's, I guess, going to be like later on this year, potentially, that they're going to debut this. So we'll talk about that when that time comes. But you could see
Got to be
people
relatively soon, though. You have to believe like they must have all of this in the can, unless it's going to be very early 26.
It's also not something that they really need to like spend a lot of time filming.
Editing.
Like they typically, at least they used to. I know they used to record more than one episode at a time, because they've got enough gladiators that they like cycle them through. So, you know, you do like 2 episodes on a day, for instance, and just keep the competition going. Maybe they knock out over the course of a couple weeks. Maybe they knock out an entire season in like a month. Maybe, I don't know, but we'll revisit that a little bit later on. But it is an opportunity for people to be like, hey, maybe Miz gets in the ears of somebody like a Kamille or a Wardlow and is like, you should probably go into WWE. Or maybe, you know, this could put somebody like Eric Bugenhagen back in the mix and he pops up in AEW, for all we know. That could very easily be something that comes out of the show. More people could be popping up. We could end up, if this does really well, they could have another season, and maybe they start looking at all these people from, you know, swapping in different gladiators and all, because that happens all the time too. People get injured, people just leave the show, whatever it might be. So I'm excited to see what happens there, and it's cool to see some of the wrestling talent get involved. Now, on the topic of, you know, the potential of people swapping between companies and stuff, let's talk about Mr. Iguana, who is not going to be an American Gladiator, but he does have an over-the-top name. He has, he's said some stuff this week that apparently have gotten him some heat, according to some people, where he had said, I am already here. I am literally here. Yesterday, I was at the NXT Performance Center in Orlando, and I was told, quote, "You're not coming through here. You're going to the main roster." I posted a picture yesterday with Shawn Michaels, and he said, "We need you here because you are the best-selling t-shirt this week and the fastest rising on the cards and all since Saturday. Since Saturday, I feel like this adrenaline hasn't stopped. It's every kid's dream to be in WWE. I'm currently busy. But for my hometown, I will have all the time in the world, blah, 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 blah." You know, point being that he is saying that, according to him, that he will join WWE and skip the NXT roster and go straight to the main roster because his merchandise sales are so high. Now, there are 2 things on the WWE shop for Mr. Iguana. One of them is a card, Topps Now card, whatever. I don't collect cards, so I don't know the details about this.
That's crazy. They jumped right on that shit.
It's a picture of him and Octagon Jr. and Aerostar from Worlds Collide for somewhere between, for some reason they give you a range here, $8.99 to $99.99. I don't know how this can go from $9 to $100, but I guess it's like certifications and some kind of weird shit.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the type of card, signatures, I imagine, certification,
all that stuff that's, you know, outside of my pay grade. But then there's one t-shirt that just has his like cartoon face and it says Mr. Iguana. That's $34.99. For him to be making so much money that they would say this kind of stuff, to me feels kind of insane. Mr. Iguana did get a good reception from Worlds Collide, but I can't picture it being like, whoa, he is selling so much, we need to sign him immediately and we need to put him on the main roster because this guy's like outbidding fucking Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, Stone Cold and all that stuff. I doubt it.
Here's what I would say to that. Obviously, I don't know, but speculation on my behalf. You're underestimating the ease of access to something like WWE Shop, maybe there's longtime Mr. Iguana fans that could never have an easy way of getting his merch.
Could be.
There's that, and then you're underestimating the value of the meme wrestler, because Mr. Iguana, I'll put it to you like this. After the last 7 days in the wrestling world, Mr. Iguana is one of the only positives I've heard about coming out of anything, where people just loved this guy and La Yesca, his little plush iguana thing. They had Michaels taking photos with the iguana. Like, it's so crazy how quickly they leaned into it. But I'll give them credit because they needed something positive to lean into. Yeah, I can imagine that he's going to make some waves. Actually, there's a new report from SRS. I will pull that up real quick. It's a Mr. Iguana update from Fightful Select. It says he's finalizing a deal with WWE. The viral sensation made an incredible impression at Worlds Collide, and Fightful was immediately told he'd be making an NXT appearance, which he did. He was in the crowd, along with
the other guys.
Was like Octagon and people like that.
I think Dr. Wagner Jr. or something.
From Sean's report, it's said that we haven't heard whether he's actually gotten any heat for the comments. And he's definitely finalizing a deal to make future appearances with the company.
Good for him. Good for Jessica too.
Star. And by the way, I wasn't on any podcast. Worlds Collide I thought was fun. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed seeing people get spotlights that don't normally get them. And I enjoyed the presentation. Fun show all around.
They need to start selling the plush iguana.
They're going to. You know they're going to.
Yeah, I think that from what I saw, it was like the thing that was popping up on Twitter the most the day after the show. Obviously, I didn't watch it, but yeah, as soon as I saw the clip of Lince Dorado giving a Spanish fly to the iguana, I thought, okay, they've got like a star on their hands here. Because yeah, it's just this is. See, I don't know how to say this without feeling like I'm going to be... Well, because I'm not actually being critical of WWE fans, I'm being critical of wrestling fans in general. Wrestling fans like this shit.
They're stupid.
Because they like Danhausen and Orange Cassidy and stuff like that as well. Not that Orange Cassidy's bad because he's a great wrestler as well, but it's a case of, yeah, people like goofy shit like this because it's funny. And it's like, they like to just throw this funny stuff on. Like, you see a lot of it on the indies, you see a lot of it... Like, we see a lot of it transfer over onto like WWE. I mean, fucking hell, I sent a message over to you guys afterwards saying, well, that's Joe Hendry done then. Because that's like, because this guy's going to come in and take over everything.
So many people said that exact same thing, that in 24 hours he lost, like a week he lost the title, and then he just, Iguana came and took his thunder. Poor guy. Like, wrestling fans like stupid shit. Mr. Iguana is definitely the meme of the month wrestler, and as long as he gets a few nice paydays out of it, hey, more power to him.
I do think he would be going to NXT, though. I do not think he'd be going to the main roster.
Why? They need a goofy guy. R-Truth is serious now.
We're going to talk about R-Truth. That's on the lineup for this episode for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say, like, I mean, you say that. I mean, I would have imagined originally that Joe Hendry would go straight to NXT as well, but then he shows up on WrestleMania, so it's
he fought Randy Orton.
That's true. You never know. And there have been instances before where people have just gone straight up, you know.
Speaking of, how long until Randy Orton RKO's the plush?
I'm down to see it. I think I'd rather see him punt the plush, though. Because he can't do that to anybody for real because it's too dangerous. But he could do it to the plush thing.
If he's a heel, if he ever goes heel, he will definitely punt the plush.
Just punt that into the crowd. And it's another Snitsky baby situation. I love wrestling sometimes.
See, wrestling fans like stupid shit. Like,
yeah, I fully admit I love stupid shit. But he might be popping up on the main roster or NXT sometime soon. And two people that might be popping up tonight on SmackDown, according to some rumors, are Kiana James and Hikuleo.
Let's go, baby.
Kiana James is spotted in the Rupp Center or whatever it is that they are tonight.
Kiana James came from Sean, so I'm 90% sure that's happening.
There's a good chance that she shows up on the show, and I don't know exactly where she would be put on the program because it kind of depends on, what else they want to do. SmackDown, of course, sucks at 3 hours and they need to fill time, so maybe it has something to do with that. But the King and Queen of the Ring tournament matches, I don't think that she's going to be factored into that, especially because the one question mark that we have for the tournament is a Raw man. But maybe they do an injury angle with Bliss taken out or something and she needs to be replaced and Kiana James fills that role for all we know. Or maybe Kiana James just pops up at a backstage segment and she's talking to Nick Aldis about, hey, you're the new signing and we're going to see you soon and you're going to have a match next week. Could be like that. Hikuleo, I am assuming, is the chance to fill in the blank when it comes to Jacob Fatu. So I think that there's a good chance both of them could show up.
Now, I don't know what they'd do with Kiana. Look, there's a good chance she's in the building and does a dark match to, get back on her feet.
Or takes promotional photos.
Or even does speed. I think that would be a death knell, but she could just be there for speed.
I prefer cocaine myself.
I was literally going to make almost the exact same joke. I was going to say, I don't know, she might be more into weed or something. Wrestling fans love stupid shit.
As far as Hikuleo, I think it's time. Solo has lost his enforcer, even though he kind of already has a new one in Jeff Cobb. But he already has Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa whenever they're healthy. And it's very possible that it's just Solo Sikoa, Jeff Cobb, and the Tongans. And that's not a bad stable. I think Solo's better now that he's not trying to be the silent killer. And I'm excited to see Hikuleo because apparently it's been a year since he's wrestled. I know he was kind of nursing some injuries and stuff on top of that, but it's been a while. So let's see if we get Talatonga.
If they don't and they bookmarked that name and trademarked it, I should say, for nothing, I'm going to be so pissed that I spent so much time.
They also trademarked Caesar Sikoa, so...
That is true. It could have just been Talatonga was another option instead of Tamatonga and Tongaloa.
I still think Caesar Sikoa was the idea that they were gonna change Solo's name, and then they backed out of that.
Maybe he's going to be Caesar Sikoa instead, because they already have that.
Or just Caesar salad.
Jeff Cobb Mateo. Hey, Caesar salad's the best salad, so.
I like Caesar. I was going to say, that is probably the best salad.
It's definitely the best salad. Fuck garden salads with all your tomatoes and shit that I have to take off.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the bag salad with the little carrots and spring mix salad or Caesar salad.
There you go. Yeah.
The mystery man in King of the Ring is Jey Uso. I guess that's why they can announce it.
I think it's Jey Uso as well.
No, they just announced it. It's Jey Uso.
Oh, they already did?
Yeah, they announced it.
Oh, well, there you go. Then we're right. But we need to analyze the tournaments as well, too, because we didn't get an opportunity because they finally put out the brackets. So, hey, look at that. It's Jey Uso, and we were right. There was an option that could have been somebody else, and I thought that there was an option for that to be a little bit more interesting, to be honest, to be Ilya Dragunov returning.
I thought it was good. Given the match that the mystery opponent was going to be in, I thought it was Dragunov. Because it's like, what is it? Sheamus, Rusev, and a third hard-hitting guy.
Bronson Reed.
Yeah, that. I thought Ilya Dragunov was going right there. That would have been awesome.
So let's talk about that. Let's kind of break it down here and there. We'll start off with that section of it. So Sheamus, Rusev, Big Bronson Reed, and Jey Uso. The winner of that is going to go up against either SmackDown's Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest, Andrade, or Shinsuke Nakamura. I look at that and I go, all right, if the plan which I don't think is the plan, if the plan is for Jay to somehow get another title shot, then he needs to obviously beat Rusev, Sheamus, and Reed, and he would need to beat whoever it is on SmackDown. And it would make more sense to me for him to beat Nakamura than anybody else, but I can't see Nakamura winning that. I don't think Andrade's winning it. I don't think Damian Priest is winning it. I think we're getting Cody Rhodes against Bronson Reed.
I think we're getting Cody Rhodes. Well, when are the are both the semifinals and the finals taking place at the pay-per-view?
No. The game plan seems to be tonight we're going to get one SmackDown men's match and one SmackDown women's match. Next week we'll get the remaining 2 Raw matches and the remaining 2 Fatal 4-Ways on SmackDown. And then the week of the pay-per-view, they'll do Sami Zayn versus the SmackDown guy, maybe on Raw, and maybe like the same left-hand side of the bracket, SmackDown woman against Raw woman on Raw, and then the same opposite on SmackDown. So it'll be the 2 of the 4 semifinals on Raw, 2 of the 4 semifinals on SmackDown. So basically, the semifinals for 2 of them are going to be the night before the pay-per-view.
I can see this going to Priest because of all the opponents that he could possibly face. I think he'd have a good match with any of them. But, I mean, logically, if you want to create the most fanfare, you did Cody versus Jay, and you have the winner of that face. Either the winner of Sammy versus Orton, you know what I mean? Like, if you're just going by pure fanfare and there's a story no matter how you slice it.
Well, we know Sami Zayn is in the semifinals, and he's up against either Randy Orton, LA Knight, Aleister Black, or Carmelo Hayes. So they're pretty babyface heavy on this. And the 2 potential, we know that the winner fights the champion of their brand at SummerSlam, meaning at least, maybe the titles change hands or something, but and we'll talk about the Gunther situation. Gunther for Raw or John Cena for SmackDown. And I look at the list of the people that are involved in all. I can't imagine we get, say, Rusev versus Gunther at SummerSlam. Or
I can absolutely see. I can see a world where that happens.
I don't think that's happening, and I don't think we're getting like Carmelo Hayes or Andrade or Shinsuke Nakamura against John Cena at SummerSlam. Sami Zayn against Gunther could happen at SummerSlam. Cody Rhodes against John Cena is what I think is going to happen.
Will likely happen at SummerSlam regardless.
And Cody could lose this tournament and still fight John Cena at SummerSlam. And it could be Sami Zayn wins and goes fights Gunther, and Cody finds a roundabout way to get to John Cena too. So it's like, I kind of think we're looking at Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, potentially Jey Uso, and I don't know, the bottom left-hand side I'm kind of writing off. It's like, I don't think any of them are winning.
I can't remember if this was you telling me, Tony, or if someone said this on social media, but
if it's good, I'll take credit.
You don't think they would really do Sami Zayn like in a shot-for-shot remake of Bryan Danielson, do you? Like where it's Sami Zayn beats Gunther, Rollins immediately cashes in on Sami?
Could be. It wasn't me that said it, though.
And I wouldn't want to see that just because I don't want a shot-for-shot remake, but I could see Sami getting a big win here. If the champion wasn't Cena, I'd like to see this be a vehicle for Carmelo Hayes. I'd like to see this be a vehicle for Aleister Black.
Aleister Black.
But then I go, if you're looking to make a star, the answer is Rusev. The answer is absolutely Rusev. He can kind of do something with the idea of being king. He can, kind of walk into the SummerSlam match. Even if it's Gunther, I think Gunther's built up enough goodwill that he's the babyface in that situation, and it's not much of a stretch. I can see it at least getting to a finals of Sami Zayn and Bronson Reed, and then Zayn goes over. The only people I really can't see winning on the Raw side are like Sheamus. That would be the one, and maybe Jey Uso, because I think he just lost the belt. He doesn't need to win it. But I can see Sheamus and Uso. I can't see winning. Everybody else has a shot on the Raw side. I don't think this is going to the SmackDown guys, because I don't think you're going to a Cena versus King of the Ring type of deal.
I mean, for the men's side, I don't see any scenario other than Cody Rhodes winning and fighting John Cena at SummerSlam. I think the rest of any other discussion outside of that is pretty much moot.
Who do you think he beats in the end?
Randy Orton.
That would be a way to get the
because then you get your Cody Randy Orton match, but they can stay baby faces,
and then they can call back to it if they want to do a turn down the line.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm sold.
I just don't see any other thing realistically, because like Sheamus and Rusev are probably going to have a match against each other at Night of Champions. Bronson Reed doesn't make sense. Jey Uso doesn't make sense again because he just lost the title, but then again they like doing that. So
you know what's annoying logically about the Jey Uso thing is, were you just hoping he would lose? And you're just like, oh good, we don't have to think about that last guy for King of the Ring. It's just Jey Uso.
Well, maybe the idea was they were going to put whoever lost that match just in the.
Oh, okay. I mean, if that's what they said, then that's fine.
Well,
it was just like TBD. Adam Pearce is going to figure out who that is at another time. They half-assed it.
Yeah, see, like in character, it's like, wait, you're just hoping that? Oh, good, it's Jay Loss. We get to put him in there.
So
they did a thing on AEW this week where it was like, oh, in this standby match that we had as a backup in case the other matches ended earlier, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of explains it a little bit, but maybe that's like you're a standby competitor, and then there's people on the roster like Otis that are like, come on, man, like I'm sitting right here, I got nothing better to do, and he's like, well, we'll wait, see if more important people can go in front of you in the line.
Just like presuming Gunther is world champion going into SummerSlam, the only one that makes sense on the Raw side is Sami Zayn. So the fact that he's gone through works out. So yeah, but I just don't think that. I just don't see any other alternative occurring. And realistically, the final should be a Raw versus a SmackDown guy.
Yeah,
but I just think it'll be Cody, because it'll either be Cody versus Randy or it'll be Cody versus Sami, probably.
I can see Cody versus Sami, and then just say. And you could just have it be like, and that's how Cody gets to the John Cena rematch, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is. I don't think you need King of the Ring for that. But maybe I'm thinking too hard about King of the Ring as like a tournament outside of a top contender tournament.
I think based off of the way that Gunther just half-assed was like, hey, I'm not wearing this crown and I'm number one contender and I'll just disappear for 2 months and that's it. I think that's how they're going to treat this. Like, I think this is basically just a number one contenders tournament. And I can't imagine Cody Rhodes or Sami Zayn or anybody like really being king of the ring going forward, like wearing a crown and stuff. But I could very well see Sami Zayn getting the coronation thing, whatever like that, and being like, now I'm on my path to winning the world title. Fighting Gunther and being like, and I mean, I beat Gunther at WrestleMania to win the Intercontinental Championship. I'll beat you at SummerSlam, and then maybe he does get cashed in on, and it's like, you just got it like snatched away from you because Rollins came out and pinned Gunther instead, or like they could do something like that. I'm leaning towards the Sami or Cody. If it's not Cody winning, just outright to be like, I'm king of the ring. And that's kind of cool. And I'm going to fight Cena. And now we don't need to do anything going forward. Then that would make sense too. But the Sami Zayn option's another thing.
Now, I'm of the opinion that they could be saving Seth Rollins cash in for the person who beats Cena. But if they're determined to make the Raw title the main thing that Seth and company focus on, I still think there's another option outside of Sammy,
Who?
which I'll get to once we talk about Raw.
Okay. Well, let's switch over to the women's side of this, the Queen of the Ring tournament. Roxanne Perez moved on after beating Liv Morgan, Kairi Sane, and Rhea Ripley. She's going to go up against the winner of Jade Cargill, Piper Niven, Nia Jax, and Michin. I am kind of just assuming that Jade Cargill wins that, but Jade could very easily be like, distracted, and then Michin takes a pin from Nia Jax or something like that. It's not going to be Piper Niven. I just assume it's not going to be her, and it's not going to be Michin. So it's Jax or it's Cargill. I'm going to lean towards Cargill. On the right side, you got Charlotte Flair, you got Alexa Bliss, you got Chelsea Green and Candice LeRae going up against the winner of Ivy Nile, Raquel Rodriguez, Stephanie Vaquer, or Stephanie Vacque, as Nikki Bella called her, and a returning Asuka.
Wait, did she?
Oh, she totally did. She's like, there's such great people on the roster now, like Io Sky and Stephanie Vacque.
Oh, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Io.
Yeah, and Nikki Bella and all. So the right-hand side, I feel like that could kind of go in a lot of different directions, but I look at Asuka and Stephanie Vaquer as like, okay, they got more of a chance to win than Raquel or Ivy Nile. Candice LeRae's not winning. Sorry. Love Candice LeRae, but she's not getting there. She's taking a pin.
Damn. Okay.
And, Bliss, Flair, Green, all three of them could potentially win. And, Night of Champions being what it is and the Queen of the Ring tournament, I don't think Perez wins to get a title shot for SummerSlam, but Jade could, Flair could, Bliss could, and Asuka could, and Stephanie Vaquer all could.
So, gun to my head, I think this goes to
Jade. Big Show's here.
I think this goes to Jade versus Charlotte at Night of Champions, and I think Jade wins. However, would love to live in the world where it's Chelsea Queen. And I would love to live in the world where Chelsea Green just has an immense amount of fun being queen. She goes from being like super political to being a monarch. I think that'd be hysterical.
If this wasn't for the SummerSlam thing, I would immediately be like, okay, Chelsea Green's got to win this.
Well, Chelsea versus Tiffany is not, storyline-wise, isn't a bad idea in terms of it'd be fun.
It's a possibility. Yeah.
I think they'd have fun with each other.
Naomi hasn't cashed in the Money in the Bank yet. And I am kind of looking at this, admittedly.
Jade wins, and then Naomi
and fights Naomi.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm jumping the gun of like, okay, Naomi beats Tiffany for the title before SummerSlam, and Jade gets the title match against Naomi. But that doesn't need to happen beforehand.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as Jade wins this, and then Naomi crashes the party at SummerSlam, and either cashes in right as soon as Jade wins, or does the whole triple threat mid-match thing and walks away with the title.
This one's a lot harder to predict just because there's there's definitely options I can go with either side. I think depends on what title they're going for. So who's like, trying to remember who the Raw Women's Champion is.
It's
Asuka. So Asuka makes a lot of sense for that.
Asuka versus Io makes more sense than any of the other ones.
And Roxanne, and because that's the only other option, really, isn't it? Because the rest of them are SmackDown. But it's either Roxanne or the winner of the other Fatal 4-Way they would face Io, right?
Right. So it's like it's not going to be Raquel Rodriguez versus Io Sky at SummerSlam. They're not going to waste that.
It could be Stephanie, or it could be Asuka.
It could be Stephanie, it could be Asuka, or Roxanne. It's not going to be Ivy, and it's not going to be Raquel.
Yeah, and the most
same as how when it comes to the SmackDown women, it's like it's not going to be Michin versus either Naomi or Tiffany. It's not going to be Piper against either of those.
Yeah, I think the most likely one would be Asuka out of all. So the Raw side, if a Raw person wins it, I think Asuka's probably the one that will win. SmackDown. See, my mind immediately thinks Jade, just because she'll get cashed in immediately by Naomi.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But then it's weird to me. I think that because if it was up to me, the final should be Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair.
Yeah, Bianca's still.
But they haven't put Bianca in. Yeah, but they haven't put Bianca into this tournament.
Yeah, she's still dealing with her broken finger.
Yeah. Which is weird. Why put her on TV to kind of like?
Well,
I think it's mostly just because it was Knoxville.
I think it's because it was Knoxville, and they just. I'm beginning to think, and I told Tony this in a private message, but I'm beginning to worry that this is the story that gets dragged out to Mania, and the women's title match next year at Mania is Naomi, Bianca, and Jade.
Yep.
And I don't want that.
I think Naomi is not going to be a part of it, but I think that Bianca, Jade for Mania. I think Naomi is the transition in between there. And I could see a scenario too where like Naomi, let's just assume, for instance, I don't think that both Money in the Bank winners are going to cash in at SummerSlam. But let's assume that maybe the Seth Rollins thing doesn't happen then. Maybe it happens elsewhere. And they could do something like Tiffany Stratton versus Chelsea Green at SummerSlam. Chelsea's Queen of the Ring. She keeps the Queen gimmick going on. And Tiffany retains over Chelsea, and then Naomi cashes in. And Naomi wins the title at SummerSlam, drops it to Bianca or Jade over the course of heading into WrestleMania. Then it's Bianca versus Jade. Like maybe Jade wins the Royal Rumble, Bianca wins the title from Naomi or something like that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just interesting how they would pair this stuff up as well, because so Jade's going to, if Jade wins, or whoever wins, Nia Jax, whoever, they've got to face Roxanne Perez in the semi-final. So it would make sense. It would be weird if it was Nia Jax, because Nia Jax against Roxanne Perez, like two heels, one giant heel, one small heel. Feels a bit odd. It's not out of the question they'd do it. So, I mean, if they're envisioning having Roxanne Perez make it to the final, then it would have to be Michin that wins, probably. Because you wouldn't have Jade Cargill lose a singles match to Roxanne Perez, I don't think.
Or would you? They're not. She's not bulletproof.
No, but she's only ever lost by interference, really, in singles matches.
And Roxanne's got the interference machine that is Judgment Day.
Yeah, but they don't actually really like her.
Right.
Well, I guess Raquel does to a degree, but Liv wouldn't get involved on her behalf. So
there's a chance Raquel, Liv, and Naomi even could cost Jade.
I'm thinking, and it's going to depend on, they don't have to do it this way, but typically in these situations, they like to do one brand wins one and the other brand wins the other.
Yeah.
So if that makes me think either it's like Jade and Sammy, or maybe you guys are right and it is Asuka and Io or Vaquer. And honestly, Vaquer is probably the one we should be looking at because she's so over that maybe she's the one that gets the rocket.
I think they're going for a more gradual build-up. I think she'll be the person that beats Becky for the Intercontinental title first. I think they'll go for a more gradual, step-by-step thing with her.
That'd be cool.
Whereas Asuka's got more. It's got an inbuilt history with Io, so they can lean into that if she was to go for it. But then I can't imagine a final being Asuka versus Jade Cargill. It just feels like that's a complete mismatch in terms of, like, Asuka will embarrass Jade Cargill in that ring. So I just don't know whether that would be
you know what they could do?
Choice.
It's not my favorite option, but this is an option. Roxanne against Jade, semifinals. Asuka against, like, say, Charlotte or Chelsea or something. And Roxanne beats Jade by countout or disqualification.
You could do that.
Like, Jade is so concerned ringside, arguing with Liv, Raquel, Naomi, whatever it might be, that Roxanne's able to get into the ring at a 9 and Jade gets counted out. And it's like, all right, it's protecting Jade, but she loses technically, and then it's Asuka versus Roxanne at Night of Champions. That'll piss off Liv Morgan a little bit to be like, okay, Roxanne's working towards that title match, and she's got that set up for, But then I can't see Roxanne winning that. It would end up being Asuka winning. But I like how I don't know how this tournament's working out. I just wish it wasn't King and Queen of the Ring, where it feels like by the time we get to SummerSlam, it's not going to have mattered that they were King and Queen of the Ring.
That's why I like the Chelsea Queen idea for that reason. Because she can carry it off.
And technically, Queen Asuka could be fun. And she could carry the crown going forward, even if she loses to Io.
I mean, I personally prefer the fact that these titles now have that this tournament now has like a meaning to it. It's not just, you know, you're tied to a go nowhere gimmick for a year or so. Because yeah, I mean, it never. I mean, it could be funny for a little while, but it never works long term with having been tied to a queen or king gimmick. So yeah, it's better that it's like actually has stakes attached to it.
Definitely the hardest one to call, for sure, because there's plenty of good options. And I will say, as a story beat, I'm really confused and curious as to what the hell they're doing with Flair and Bliss.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because I can't tell you anything, but they're really trying to go somewhere with that.
All the more reason why tonight it could be that those two get out into some kind of thing with each other, and then Chelsea picks up a win over Candice, you know? Or Flair hits Bliss with something, and then Chelsea picks up a pin, or I don't know.
We talk about like the worst thing about this tournament is the fact that it's 2 fatal 4-ways leading to 2 singles match. Well, 4 fatal 4-ways leading into 2 singles matches.
I don't know why they.
Why is it not a 16? It's a 16-person tournament. Why is it not just single elimination? I know they've only got a bit of time before Night Champions, but it's not like they don't have time on TV. You've got 3 hours to fill on both shows. Have a load of singles matches.
Imagine how good some of those matches would be, though.
Yeah, they've only done this. I'd say the only reason they've done this fatal 4 is, well, first of all, it's the obsession that this regime seems to have with doing triple threat qualifiers and fatal 4-way qualifiers into things. But it's also the fact that because they want to protect people that they don't want to pin. So, we don't want Rhea Ripley to win this tournament, but we can't have a loser match. It's like, I understand.
That's exactly it. Triple H likes these 3-way, 4-way things to avoid doing that and to rush how it is. I don't really like it because I think you do have so much time to kill that you should be having regular matches.
Triple H doesn't book Triple H as much as Shawn Michaels books Shawn Michaels, but sometimes you get a peek at something and you're like, oh, you know, you did lose a lot of titles by not losing a lot of titles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe
Edge is in that match, so Jeff Hardy can win that title, but not pin me. Like, you know.
Maybe
he's
that's
an example. I hope that next year, if they do this, because I don't think it should be a yearly thing necessarily, but if they do it again, I hope it's not 4 ways again, and that they could actually like let it breathe. King of the Ring was never as fun as when it was the one-night tournament.
Yeah, I never liked the semifinals and finals on one show. I like, just do the one night, you know, do the 8 matches. Let's see what happens. I enjoy tournaments like that.
Well, one of the things that we talked about briefly that we need to now dedicate a little bit more time to is Jey Uso is no longer the champion. So that changed up quite a bit of dynamics when it came to the start of them announcing this. I was assuming Jey would retain the title over Gunther and that it was going to be some situation where Seth Rollins would try to cash in and CM Punk would screw him over, and then it would do this whole thing or whatever, and then maybe Goldberg shows up. For all we know, Goldberg is the champion heading into SummerSlam. I doubt it, but it's a possibility. We've seen twice before where a title has changed hands specifically so Goldberg can fight for it and do something, you know, with the championship. But Goldberg did not show up. Rumor has it he'll pop up on Raw, and that will get the confirmation of the Saturday night's main event thing that Gunther won this championship so that they could make that a title match and have that be something else that goes up against AEW for All In. But Jay loses the title, and I can't say I like it or dislike it for a couple reasons. One thing I like is I was not digging Jey Uso as champion. One thing I dislike is I don't think that they've done anything to rehab Gunther, and I don't think that this rehabs the tap out loss, which was completely unnecessary because you put Jay over in a way that really hindered Gunther more than it put Jay over. And I don't think and this applies to just life in general, I don't think it's as much of a win when you think that you stood higher because somebody else got pushed down. I think that a win is more when you succeed, not when you look better in the absence of other people's failures. And Gunther now comes out and people chant you tapped out. So was it worth it? I don't think so. Jay fans are going to be mad because they think, well, he didn't even get a real title reign. They barely had him hold this belt, and now he got punked out and he looks bad. I know Rikishi's not a big fan of this, obviously. So why give the title to Jay to begin with just to do that when now Gunther doesn't look as good? And yeah, you got your big celebration or whatever. I think it's not worth it in the grand scheme of things. I also don't really want to see Gunther fighting anybody going forward because he doesn't have particularly interesting stories set up for him right now. The Goldberg-Gunther match didn't need to be a title match. And then if we get Gunther versus Sami Zayn, I fucking saw it already at WrestleMania last year. Their dynamic does not wow me so much that makes me go, man, I can't wait to see that rematch from WrestleMania 40. It was a good match, but I don't think that was the right call for Sami to beat him for the Intercontinental title to begin with. And I'm like, man, there is a part of me that really kind of wishes that Gunther was still just the Intercontinental champion. And that didn't happen. And he's just still holding that same belt and somebody else is fighting for the world title. I can't see Seth Rollins cashing in on Gunther. So he either cashes in on somebody who beats Gunther or he cashes in during the match and steals it from that person. Which now makes me think that Seth Rollins is going to go after the Cody and Cena thing, which makes me then think, because I'm bouncing all around here, that Cody might beat Cena at SummerSlam and get cashed in on by Seth. And that might be a game plan. Which then, why are you setting up the whole thing with Jay just to have it not go in that direction? Like, to me, a lot of this almost feels like Triple H saw that people knew where he was going and he decided to switch it all up.
I believe that. No, I really don't. I believe that they made the call, and I think Meltzer put something out like this. Hey, let's have Goldberg's last match be for the world title. I think he's winning.
Goldberg's winning the title?
Yeah. I think he's winning. And then I think Braun Breaker in particular, Reed will get some shots in too, but I think Breaker gets to beat the crap out of Goldberg as a way of Goldberg giving back to what is basically his spiritual successor. And then Rollins cashes in, beats Goldberg, and is the champion going into SummerSlam. That's what I think is going to happen. Because I don't think Goldberg is going out on his sword in terms of and Gunther just beats him. I think he's going to get to be like, I did it, one more championship on the, I'm going out on top, and then Rollins' crew takes him out. Because I think Goldberg will look at that as, I'm giving back to the business. I let Braun Breaker spear me and beat the crap out of me and all that. And I think, and this is a very small part of me that thinks this is a factor, but you can say, hey, for those of you who were tuning into All In, you missed Goldberg's last match. He won the title, and you missed Seth Rollins cashing in. It's more of like a look at how loaded this show was, and now we're really cooking going into SummerSlam, aren't we? Oh, Seth Rollins is champion, and he'll be facing Sami Zayn maybe or whatever.
Well, is All In scheduled to end before Saturday night's main event? Because isn't it going head to head more with NXT?
It is going head to head more than NXT, so I might be wrong on that front. But I still think it's a good chance that Goldberg just wins, and that they have Rollins cash in on Goldberg, and that way it's like, okay, your story going into for the rest of the year is set up because Rollins is champion. That's at least my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I could maybe see that happening.
Because, okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Jey Uso loses world title. I like it, first of all. I have been a big proponent on this podcast of change the fucking belts more frequently. That way people feel like... I'll give you a good example. I don't tune into Raw anymore until I jump on for my Fightful time at 10 p.m. So I would have probably been like, oh, wow, Gunther actually won the belt. It was surprising enough that he did. I texted you like, wow, they actually just had Jey Uso lose. But I think it's a good move in that way. I think Uso did about as much as he's going to do. I know Rikishi's pissed off, but like some people are just better chasing. And this wasn't a discussion back in the day. Like, no one was ever like, The Rock was champion for 20 days. No, because they knew he'd get it back in 14. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not the case for Jay. Maybe he won't get it back in 2 weeks. But short runs aren't a terrible thing. He got the huge Mania moment. He got the Royal Rumble win. It was going to lose steam. It doesn't lose steam in the crowds. I'll give you that. Yeet is super over. But if you keep the belt on him, I think it's worse than if you have him as a frequent chaser of the title. And I thought it was well done.
I mean, I don't think that he should have been champion in the first place, regardless. But the fact that he was, it's like totally fine. I don't think it's a particularly short run. Probably the thing that makes it feel so short is because he defended it like
Twice,
2 or 3 times. I think he only won one of those matches clean. Because like his match.
No, he didn't win any of those matches clean. He defended it 3 times. The one I forgot was Rollins, and that was it.
Yeah, and so that's probably part of the reason. He never felt credible. It's very similar to like your Rey Mysterio style title reign. Of like, oh, we don't actually want you to be world champion, but the crowd is kind of behind you, so we're going to do it anyway. And yeah, but you won't win any matches really, and you won't be treated as a world champion. It's basically, you're a mid-carder that's holding the world title for a little while. I think he's just going to go the way of Kofi Kingston. Like, it'll just be, he'll be
former champion that never wins it again.
Well, not even that. Like, he's clearly, from what, or at least the bits and pieces I saw, like he's going into a feud with the New Day after this.
What?
So, well, the stuff that was happening like backstage between him and like the New Day referencing it. It's like, it's going to just be, the next thing that they're going to do is probably at SummerSlam, it's going to be Jay and Jimmy against the New Day for the tag titles.
First of all, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I believe that they've done this. Second of all, I know it sounds like a drop in quality, but that is their biggest, like, 2 tag teams of the modern era. It's not a demotion unless you just, shove the idea that it is down everybody's throat. Because I thought they missed the opportunity to do like Usos tag team match at Mania against a team like the Machine Guns, where you could have told the story about that being a highly anticipated, highly fantasy booked tag match for decades. So I'm not opposed to the Usos getting back together. It's better for Jimmy than it is for Jay.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But
Jimmy's doing fuck all over on SmackDown.
But it's not a bad idea.
They'll be like former Intercontinental Champion, former World Champion Jay Uso, and Jimmy. And he's like, hello.
No, well, that's just the situation. It's just, it feels like he'll just go the Kofi Kingston route of just, okay, we gave you that for a little while because you got super over for a time, and now we're putting you back where you belong.
Again, I think the only thing that makes the tag team scene a demotion in WWE is the long-standing idea that it is a demotion. If they treated it with respect and treated it well, it wouldn't be.
Theoretically, it should be on par with the world titles just because it's a different division. The same as the women's division should be on par.
You know, when AEW was cooking and they had like, when the company was first starting, you had like the Bucks and Lucha Bros and eventually Kenny and Hangman. It wasn't like, oh, this is a demotion for Kenny. He's just having banger matches with Hangman as a tag team.
Yeah, but nobody sustains this for very long. We know where tag team wrestling stands in the totem pole.
Yeah.
So, you know, it'll just be a nice thing for, like, they're just probably just the realization that Jimmy just isn't doing anything, and they're a better actor as a tag team. Like, Jey Uso, for as over as he is, he's not a good singles wrestler. So it's better for him to be paired up as a tag team guy.
I will admit, I don't mind Jay as a single, but he did hit a spear on Gunther where I just went, oh, stop doing that move. Like, you don't need to do that.
There's too many spears as it is. Every fucking person wants to do a spear.
And it's just not a good one.
Especially when Braun Breaker's out there fucking launching himself midway through the ramp. And then,
it's the point where only Breaker and Roman should be doing the spear.
You got Braun Breaker's a goddamn rocket, and Jay's doing a light tackle. I wouldn't want to take it, but still, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I mean, for all we know, we could be looking at, with the way that the King of the Ring tournament can play out and the way that Saturday Night's main event and stuff, we could be talking about Goldberg versus fucking Rusev at SummerSlam, or, you know, whatever it might be. I don't know, but kind of crazy. That stuff happens over there. We also have some other stuff from Raw to talk about. One of them being R-Truth. He is now Ron Killings, and he cut his hair in a promo where he was talking about the truth set me free. I'm the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Put some respect on my name. Okay. I'm interested.
Yeah, I think he looks great with the shaved head. And honestly, people were like, oh, he's a heel. I didn't get that.
No, I didn't get that either. I'm serious now vibe. Which makes me then go, okay, are they going to give this guy like the Intercontinental title or something?
I can see him being still involved with Cena because he was directly parodying things Cena was saying about being a joke and all that. So I don't think he's done there. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes. And shout out to him, by the way, for getting this deal where he's going to be Ron Killings, and he knows if he ever leaves again, he's going to make a lot more money as Ron Killings.
Yeah, it's smart. One of the smartest plays that somebody's done in recent contract stuff. You come begging back to be like, hey, look, we made a mistake. No, listen, you might fire me in a year. Because we don't know how long this contract's for either. I know one report that I had seen from, I believe, Meltzer had referred to it as like one last run. So it could be one of those things where they're like, okay, look, we signed you for another year or another 2 years. We're wrapping you up, but we're going to give you a chance to go out on your own in a little bit more fashion than what we just did. and then you need to, transition over to a Legends contract or something like that. And it could be him being like, all right, well, I don't know if I'm going to want to do that or still wrestle. So this Ron Killings thing, if I decide I want to go somewhere else, I'll be able to have that. Fucking smart, man.
Absolutely.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, good for him that he's managed to secure the bag as well. So the one thing that I was hoping that would happen out of this is that they made such a grievous error that he has to come back, and now they're paying him even more than he was on when he left the first time, or when he just left. So that'd be the best overall scenario. But yeah, I think that the move is smart. I'm wondering how long this gimmick change works for him, because the thing that fans really liked about R-Truth was the fact that he was goofy.
Mm-hmm.
So him going super serious might have a bit of the opposite effect. I mean, what's the end goal, really? Like, he's not going to win the World Championship, is he?
I don't think so.
But they're positioning like he's back to take on John Cena, surely. Like, that's the guy that...
Never.
I also like...
Things.
I don't know, because I don't know if you've mentioned it. Presumably not, because like Money in the Bank just happened like recently, like last week. The press conference, like another great example of the Triple H can't answer anything that he's not prepared for.
No, I was gonna talk about that in a bundle that I like to call "So Much Shit Happened This Week" and nobody's talking about anything wrestling related. It's all about the dumb shit people said. But yeah, I'll start with Hunter and the thing at the press conference. It's so stupid. You have Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso and a crying Kathy Kelly, a legit crying Kathy Kelly, talk about how, hey, you guys did it. You wanted truth back. We got him back. I never thought I'd see him again. And then just to stick it to the media, Hunter's like, you enjoying the show, man? Yeah, all part of the show. Like, all right. Then don't do the fucking press conferences. Which, by the way, I don't think they want to, because they're changing the format of them a lot. But don't do it at that point.
There's such an easy answer for this too, that like he went in a different direction. He could use one of his own lines for this, and just somebody goes, can you tell us more about the R-Truth situation, bringing him back? Did you realize it was a mistake or something? He could be like, look, we've said to you before, you never know what's going to happen in WWE. I don't even know what's going to happen sometimes, because this business changes at the drop of a hat. Everything from one show to another could be different. That's what makes each show so important. Then that doesn't even try to go like, oh, I planned this out and you just got worked. Like, no, you fucking didn't.
Or, hey man, you got, you talked, we listened.
Yep, we love to listen to the audience.
At the end of the day, it's our job to put smiles on faces.
Yep.
Done. Like,
just admit you made a mistake letting go. We always say that the WWE audience is our boss, and so they responded. We decided to react to it and corrected the mistake. Like, you just do that, and you're
then
totally
you get goodwill out of it, and people go, "See, Triple H is a man of the people."
And they said like, "Oh, you enjoy the show? You got there's a nice little work there," which not only like other people like just in the wrestling media space debunked, but R-Truth Son and R-Truth debunked.
Yeah,
immediately they put out as well.
Good for them too.
Yeah, but it's just a point of like, is it okay? So let's make this bizarre argument, which obviously isn't the case, but make the bizarre argument that it was all work. Then why did he just have a random match against JC Mateo on SmackDown where he didn't get injured, nothing happened to him, and then he got let go, and then just went to attack John Cena afterwards?
Right.
No.
Why wasn't he injured and taken out? Why wasn't he injured and taken out against the match against John Cena, or John Cena saying, "I'll put my WWE title on the line at the Saturday Night's Main Event, but you have to put your career on the line," or something of that ilk?
Why would you work the whole rest of the people that work for the company, or why would you put this on at the same time that you would also legitimately fire Sarah Logan and Carlito? That would be cruel to Carlito and Sarah Logan to be like, Like, we're going to use you two as sacrificial lambs in this pawn story that'll last a week for this. Not even building up a month of shit like that. I mean, Triple H basically damn near almost put out that Hulk Hogan tweet of the whole... Can you tell us more about this R-Truth situation? Well, good night, you jabroni marks that don't work and shoot yourself in the mark or whatever the fuck he said.
You know, but seriously, it bothered me, and then it bothered me from the fact that I'm on the Fightful staff perspective, which is totally personal, because it's immediately just, Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful in the mud, we got worked. Wow, good job, Papa H. And listen, nobody is a bigger fan of Triple H as a wrestler, and nobody loved Triple H leading NXT more than me. But the weird shit where people like actively want to be at the mercy of some of these companies. Like, you ever see just like, they're like, oh, they got us. Yes. I feel so stupid. This feels so great. Like, what are you doing? Why do you want to be lied to? Like, why do you think the entire wrestling world would be like, nah, fuck that. R-Truth is great. Just for them to be like, oh, we got you. Swerve. It's like, no, just fucking say, we brought him back. We realized everybody really cares about him. It was a mistake. We brought him back. But no, like, it's so clear somebody probably got their panties in a bunch about having to bring him back that now you're upset about it. And like, why? It gave you a fucking out for Money in the Bank that you probably didn't have. You know, like, it gave you an easy out.
Yeah, I'm curious what the finale was supposed to be before that. If it was just going to be Cody gets a pin and that's it, you know?
Right.
We're gonna have to see where Ron Killings plays into the plans that he wasn't planned for going forward. Now they shift that around. Interesting when that kind of stuff happens, though, because it's like, well, they didn't plan for that. So now let's see how they pivot.
And sometimes it's better for them because they fail upward all the time.
All the fucking time. Constantly.
So it could be the best thing that's ever happened to them because now they actually have a through line for some of this John Cena stuff.
Another thing that happened on Raw, though, is the return of Nikki Bella, who was announced as she has a special announcement. And she came out and she said, oh, I love you guys. You guys are so great. I love you guys. Man, it's great to be here with all these people that I am so appreciative of all these new people like Io Sky, who I'm pretty sure was on the roster at the time that she was on there in some fashion as Io Shirai, but you could maybe make the argument that NXT, she wouldn't have gotten to know her. Okay, we'll say that. And Stephanie Vacquet, which is like, okay, that's the typical Kurt Angle's like, I love all these talents, like Asuka.
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal and Asuka. And Nikki Bella's announcement is, you guys remember how they said that Evolution's coming back? Well, if you forgot in the past week, Evolution's coming back. And it's we fucking know. And Liv Morgan attacks her, and it's like, all right, well, then you're just going to do a tag title match with the Bella Twins. Announce that!
I don't know why that bothers you. She was clearly, maybe she ran long or whatever. This is one of the segments I didn't see, except for one clip that floated on socials. But she was clearly going to announce that, and then, you know, Liv is supposed to interrupt before she can announce, hey, I'm wrestling at Evolution.
She should have just said it. Like, she should have been like, man, it's so great that Evolution's coming back, and I wanted to make an announcement that I am going to be stepping back in the ring. It takes 3.5 seconds more.
But I think they wanted her to get cut off by Liv, and they wanted, you know, because you're setting the table for the Bella Twins to finally win the WWE Women's Tag Titles. This is fine to me. I think it's it's good that like this is the spot they're going for, because now I made a big stink during WrestleMania build that like Liv Morgan should maybe be doing something other than tag titles. But if you're right in the Bella Twins, it doesn't get bigger in the WWE space. You know what I mean? Like the Diva stands and the Evolution stands, and like this is a main event for them. So like, good for Liv Morgan.
Okay, before we get too far into that rabbit hole, Brie Bella's not back yet.
Not yet.
And there's a very good chance she won't be back, because she, or at least part of the relationship, is tied to AEW. Not saying that she can't, because obviously it's not just a case of like who her husband works for, but it's more of a case of maybe she doesn't want to come. Maybe she doesn't want to come back.
It's possible, but I think
it's more likely this could just be Nikki versus Liv 1-on-1.
And I really hate that idea.
That would be funny.
I don't know why. Like, what are either of them going to do that's better than that?
They
should really want to see Nikki Bella fighting for the world title. I don't
want to see Nikki Bella fighting at all. But if she's going to be doing something, it should be with Brie, and it should be fighting for the tag titles. Because if not, then I'd rather see Nikki just be in the Battle Royal. I just think it's weird that if it was the case that they're going to be fighting for the tag titles, then why is Nikki the only one that's come back? It just seems odd to me.
Maybe it's because I'm just spitballing here, but like you're setting the stage with this because Nikki is the one who was already back at the Rumble, and they haven't gotten Brie back, and maybe now they're going to be like, well, since you've got Raquel, I couldn't possibly go into this alone, and then Brie comes out, big pop.
That way they get like 3 weeks out of it.
Yeah, that's the other reason too. Like, or maybe it's as simple as they're negotiating and they don't have Brie yet.
Maybe she's going to team with Stephanie Vacquet.
I think they haven't an out that they could just do a singles. It'd be a bit of a letdown, but I'm not the person to ask about this because I'm not a Nikki Bella diehard. Like, I don't, I'm not going to be like, as long as she's wrestling, it's fine. I can acknowledge the importance of the contributions, but I think Bella Twins tag titles is the best route versus and Nikki maybe goes for a singles championship or something. I think Bella Twins tag titles is where it's at.
Anything other than Bella Twins together fighting for the tag titles, if Nikki does something separate that's not a battle royal, I think is a waste of a spot, and she shouldn't be in the spot.
Well, I think
I'd rather Liv Morgan and Raquel fight Lita and Trish.
I think if she was going to challenge for a championship, because let's be honest, we're not talking from the perspective of us. We're putting ourselves in the mindset of the people who are going to really, really love this show. They think Nikki Bella to them is, what Shawn Michaels is to you, Tony, or Brett, or Undertaker. Like, Nikki is at that level.
Yeah, so but we shouldn't tell people that their wrong opinions are justified.
I mean, be that as it may, but they WWE knows what they have with the Bella Twins and with the universe they've created. And outside of the stuff with Liv, I want to talk about this segment with Io backstage, where Io said, you really set the table for us, or
you paved the way.
You're the reason you paved the way. And I've never seen people get so angry about a scripted comment. Like, people really got butthurt about this, and it's like, guys, you're the first people to admit that wrestling's fucking fake and that WWE serves WWE. Why are you letting yourself get upset about this?
Also, what's the difference between that and when people talk about all these other quote unquote legends that paved the way in the men's division, where you're like, again, to be like a Coco Beware type, where it's like, oh man, these classic legends, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And it's like, Okay, are you going to do the equivalent of that and say, like, a major legend that's on the roster right now, you couldn't have gotten there without JD McDonough? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's the fact that there are people who got mad that it was Io that made this comment specifically because Io is a better wrestler than Nikki Bella. But I don't understand why people let themselves get so heated. Like, you know what this is. Stop it. Like, I don't know, Callum, did you see this line or hear about it or anything?
What line was that?
The line of Io
saying that thank you to Nikki Bella saying you paved the way.
Nah, I didn't hear that, but like it wouldn't surprise me if she was asked to say something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you see his reaction? That's about the extent of what you need. People were pissed. And I don't get it.
I can understand why they're pissed. I mean, if I cared more about WWE, I probably would be as well. But it's like a case of, it's that's just what certain people like. As I say, she was told to say that. I doubt if the Osaka ever saw any Nikki Bella match.
Never.
So that's they're just trying to big her up because like she is treated as a legend. I mean, she's a Hall of Famer, so she's treated as with a legendary status in WWE. So if she's back, then they're going to treat her like a big deal.
Maybe they had her watch one of those when she was training in NXT, and it's like tape study class. Like, watch this. Now you see how this person got injured or something.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You gotta make sure you don't do something like this. Oh, you paved the way. You told me exactly what not to do.
Wow.
Everybody knows the reality. Nikki Bella was better than some of the other people that were there at a time frame when everybody sucked. Let's be honest. The fucking goalpost moves.
Well, yeah. I mean, the best thing that she can teach people, besides like the reality TV side of wrestling and that sort of ilk, is never to do a move which will over time destroy your neck in the crossface, because like she's only back now. Like she did I assume she's not going to do the rack attack anymore.
She'll do the rack attack 2.0, the TKO,
right?
Where she spins and cutter. No, that was the extent of what I wanted to talk about with Bella, just because I was shocked at the level of outrage.
So that was like the Raw side of things that at least, I thought was particularly interesting. And NXT had some interesting things as well.
Well, hold on. I'm guessing your answer is going to be, we'll get to this in a couple of weeks, but... the
CM Punk stuff?
Cena and Punk will be happening in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I figured let's save that because we're already an hour and 48 minutes into this.
He's gonna suck that blood-covered dick.
But we will definitely be addressing the CM Punk stuff when we get into our Saudi Arabia stuff, because that is
suck that dick,
major topic.
Suck that
dick. Do you think that's gonna be getting chanted in Saudi Arabia? That'd be fantastic. Suck our dick. Suck our dick.
Yeah, CM Punk now stands for Cock Muncher Punk.
Oh my god.
He's never confirmed what it's supposed to be for, right? So, but yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more when we get into Night of Champions. Let's pivot over to NXT. Ethan Page retained the NXT North American Championship over Super Sean Legacy, and Ricky Saints attacked Page afterward, and then couldn't talk because Ava Rain's like, I guess it's just Ava now, whatever. Ava Rain, shut up. Otis Dozovic. That he's not even cleared to compete, so fuck off until you're cleared.
Apollo.
There was also a backstage thing with Fatal Influence where this Lainey Reed, who again like just kind of came out of nowhere and was like, hey, by the way, I haven't been seen since NXT Level Up, but I'm going to challenge for the championship, slapped Jacy Jayne twice, and Jacy then defends her title. And later on, Jacy is in the ring, and there's an announcement that there's going to be setup of like a couple different things going forward. There's going to be 4 singles matches that are going to then lead into a fatal 4-way. Gotta love those fatal 4-ways. That the winner will then face Jacy Jayne and defend the NXT Women's Championship at Evolution. So we're back to the Evolution side of things. The people that are involved are actually, let me bring up that list because I don't remember off the top of my head, and I am going to be losing track of the exact things. I know it's Kelani Jordan versus Lash Legend. Then there is Jordynne Grace against... I'm not seeing where I had written that up. Jordynne Grace, I think, is against Jada Parker, if I remember correctly.
Jordynne Grace is Lola Vice.
Oh, it's Lola Vice. Okay, so Jordynne Grace, Lola Vice. Then you've got the Thea Hale and Jada Parker, and you got Zarya and Izzy Dame. Now, again, of course, any of those 4 winners, who knows? Because it really only depends on what's in the Fatal 4-Way. And the setup for that could be any of them up against Jacy Jayne, but you would assume it would be a babyface. So I look at the rest of this and I go, it's probably not Thea Hale. It's probably not Zarya. It could very well be Kelani Jordan. It could be Lola Vice, and it could be Jordynne Grace. But I can't picture Lola Vice beating Jordynne Grace. So I think we're getting Jordynne Grace beating Jacy Jayne already for the title at Evolution.
Yeah, I think they just want it to be a big Evolution moment.
Yep.
Which I don't love, but that's fine.
That, yeah.
That's fine.
And Evolution happens the night after NXT Great American Bash.
So what they could do is like a tag team or a 6-woman.
Yep.
At Great American Bash.
I think that they are going to do Fatal Influence and a 6-woman tag against Jordynne Grace, and then 2 other people, whether that's like Kelani and Lola, and it all factors into this, or it's Jordan against Zarya and Sol Ruka. Could be something that.
Maybe that, or maybe you pull in a Masha or something from TNA to be like, wow, TNA, huh?
Crossover. Why don't you want to pay attention to this instead of All In? But which I don't think it'll really make that much of a difference.
Maybe even the recently returned Influence / Iconics.
Could be that. So, that's something to keep an eye on. And a couple other things happened throughout this show that, some of them smaller, like Culling beats Josh Briggs and Yusuke Inamura. Andre Chase is like, hey, we're going to follow my rules, et cetera, et cetera.
They were like, fuck Brooks Jensen.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. So, maybe it's Friday, and right now, at least as far as 5 o'clock in the afternoon, he has not been released. Still kind of not sure if that's going to pop up, especially because sometimes they release people on Fridays that are like midway through the day or something. But I'm hoping that this leads to Brooks helping out Briggs and reforming that tag team. First Class is teaming up with Trick next week against Elijah and against Briggs and Inamura. There's also a contract signing with the newest person on the roster that we have already been introduced to, but we weren't introduced to her real name on the WWE side of things now, and that's Mariah May, who has been renamed Blake Monroe, and she apparently copied a bunch of Sabrina Carpenter stuff, which I'm not tapped into Sabrina Carpenter. I don't really know any of that shit, but it seems like it's like a 1-to-1 ratio, just completely stealing it, like the bubble bath stuff and the newspaper spinning to the screen and all that. Blake Monroe as a name could be worse, could be better. It's certainly better than Sally September or something, but sure.
I like the name. I didn't realize she had a niece named Blake. I, for some reason, just knew they were going to go with something Monroe inspired. The name's fine. I did not know it was a Sabrina Carpenter thing. I was just like, I thought she was just going for, I've done the 50s movies, now I'm doing 60s television. But no, I think it's fine. I think she'll have a great chance to shine in NXT, and she won't be there long, I assume.
Yeah, I mean the name's the name. Like we knew it was changing. I think it seems odd that it's not there's not Mariah Monroe instead, both for the alliteration and the fact that just Mariah is a name. But I guess they have to own every aspect of it. So
I think she just wanted to do the tribute to her niece.
well, I think she probably just would prefer to be Mariah May, but like that's
Maybe
It could have been Mariah Monroe, could have been May Monroe.
Yeah. May is the first name, not crazy, but go on.
But yeah, I mean the gimmick is what you'd expect realistically. Like I say, it's just PG Mariah May. But I can see the Sabrina Carpenter comparisons to that. But then again, I thought that was Tiffany Stratton's gimmick as well, so I guess I can't really play into it too much. Yeah, but I think it's a mixture of like Mariah May's typical persona, maybe a bit of Sabrina Carpenter influence. I think a bit of Toni Storm influence as well.
So again, before I had heard about the Sabrina Carpenter stuff, or like I had a friend who tipped me off to like I guess Anna Nicole Smith back in the day had a reality show with kind of similar graphics. I was just like, oh, is she just doing Timeless Tony? But it's like I'm doing a different era. That's the vibe I got as somebody who isn't super tapped into Sabrina Carpenter and that whole thing.
The only reason I heard about the Sabrina Carpenter stuff is because other people showed a 1-by-1 comparison, and it's like exactly the same. Like, I guess Sabrina Carpenter has like the same basic towel and like the shot of like her with the towel. And
that's
like,
one of her moves in same moves. God, that's like wrestling context for it, but that's a gimmick that she does from like her short and sweet tour before she sings.
Oh, okay.
Which song does she sing before that? I think she sings "Taste" before doing that. I'm
probably have a better guess than we do.
I'm not a stan of Sabrina Carpenter, but I do like listen to her stuff because she's talented, she's funny. So
the Espresso song's catchy, but I couldn't tell you much of the lyrics, let alone I've said millions of times before, I don't follow any kind of celebrity stuff, let alone the things that are like, to me, it's baffling that there's so much people that are like, you brought up Anna Nicole Smith, that they would be like, oh, let me reference Anna Nicole Smith. I'd be like, fucking why? Like, so she was hot for a good couple of years, and then she was a fucking meme. Goddamn, aim higher for your role models than Kim Kardashian and these types of people. I'm going to send it in the chat on Discord that we have right now. This is like the comparison that I had seen of like the bubble bath stuff, the newspaper stuff, the towel, the cartoon graphic.
I mean, my argument to that would be Sabrina Carpenter is one of the biggest stars in the world right now. If you're gonna, and she does have her own vibe, clearly, if you're gonna bite off anybody, might as well be somebody doing really, really, really well in the world right now.
And it's not like wrestling hasn't done that. So it's not like, she's the first person to bite off of somebody like that. We have so many examples that we can't even, start to name them all. But
I like that she claimed that she actually asked WWE about selling bathwater.
That's a whole nother fucking discussion. If you're the type of person listening to this where you're like, you even would for a split second consider that, get some help. You should not be doing that. Fucking go on Pornhub. You can sort it out. Believe me, there's a thing as post-nut clarity.
I think the weirder thing is not even like the soap being made out of bathwater, is the fact the soap's got a hole in it.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, they do the job for you. They don't want people wasting their time with that.
I wonder if this world's in the way that it is.
So that one's a Sydney Sweeney thing, right? Where she's actually
Sydney Sweeney,
that's listen, if she's making money that way, more power to her.
Oh no shame on her.
Exactly.
It's shame on the people. It's shame on the other people. Yeah, the shame on me.
I don't blame the people supplying. I blame the people demanding.
Yeah.
It's the same as when we talked about before about like how embarrassing it is to be a pro wrestling fan. That's another level. I will very much easily be like, I'll defend pro wrestling. I'm not defending you fucking people. You're in a different camp.
So funny.
Very quickly, Obafemi retained over Jasper Troy. He's a monster.
I enjoyed that.
That was fun. It did a lot in making Jasper Troy look like he's somebody to watch out for going forward.
He's gonna be a big deal. He's a monster.
He's a monster. And Tony D'Angelo had that weird thing with Luca Crucifino where it's like, hey, I don't know if I can trust you. Oh, you got a crowbar. I don't know if I can trust you. There goes Stacks. I can't trust that guy. This is a poor ass story.
Oh, by the way, I wonder if Booker T is getting royalties every time Vicaire does the Devil's Kiss. Because the crowd just does it now. They just go, yeah. Fantastic.
Queen Aminata doing her own version of that on AEW this week. Before we get into Summer Blockbuster, though, it's going to be our last thing to round this out with. We got to talk about something else very quickly that has some ramifications when it comes to AEW, which is Warner Brothers Discovery. You know, the whole big, let's merge that together because that makes a whole lot of sense. David Zaslav, the guy, of course, I've never met him, but my God, this guy seems like a perfect example of why the fuck are you in charge of a company when you clearly do not understand any kind of business shit? I do not have a business degree, but goddamn, stop failing sideways or downward or upward, depending on completely random ass shit and keeping your job. I guarantee you, Warner Brothers, whatever they end up calling all these things, would be better off if you nix him and all of the money that is going towards this guy and his dumbass ideas. And we don't have confirmation yet that he's the one that said that you should switch HBO Max over to Max, but it probably fucking is because it ultimately the buck stops with him.
Max because shut up.
Right. Just revert back to all this crap because the Warner Brothers Discovery thing, they are now splitting that up. So the whole idea of merging those companies, because that'll make so much more sense and it'll be so much more profitable after like 2 years, I think, is like, okay, well now we have to split them up. And it's some kind of bullshit tax evasion nonsense, the type of crap that the people that are in charge of this fucking country right now are very much supportive of. So if you are, of course, I'm going to toss it out there. If you voted for this because you think that they're for the people that are actually going to be hurt by the prices of eggs, you're a goddamn moron. You fell for it. Now you should take up arms and do something at that parade tomorrow. God, I'm not making it easy for myself in the future, am I?
No.
Shots aside, they are splitting Warner Brothers as two things. And again, these dumb fucking people that name these things on top of it. I got a perfect idea. We want to split our stuff where one of them is going to be called Streaming and Studios. Okay. You would assume that that means fucking what Warner Brothers was before. Streaming and Studios, aka our movies and our streaming services. The other one's called Global Networks. So it's their fucking TV. CNN, TNT, Discovery Channel, that thing.
Now you have to remember, like, they'll come up with some new name that they're probably just, it's a holder now, right? With the global whatever. But
I think that this is what they plan on actually calling it. It's
like the Spinco thing where it's not actually called Spinco. That's just a placeholder for whatever NBC TV becomes or became.
Now, look, one of the crossover things, CNN, TNT, Discovery Channel, a lot of the stuff with the cable networks. Do you not have plans whatsoever to put that stuff on HBO Max where then that becomes part of the Streaming and Studios? Because Streaming and Studios is listed right now as, quote, HBO's brand and legacy of prestige. Notice it's not Max. The global Max streaming service, recently rebranded as the HBO Max brand. The legendary content and the library, the physical studios of Warner Brothers, aka Warner Brothers Movies, and the culturally significant DC studios. You know, the DC studios that has started yet because they actually haven't released Superman yet. And then the global TV networks I mentioned before, Discovery Channel, the whole point of the Warner Brothers Discovery thing, CNN, TNT, TBS, all that kind of stuff. And they're basically going to dump most of their debt, which according to this one article is $38 billion.
That's more than I will ever see in my life.
You change that to million, and that's 38 more than I would ever see in my life. What if I had everything combined that I ever owned and ever will gross? Like $38 billion, which they've already apparently repaid $2.2 billion for. So it was $40.2 billion in debt. And they're going to try to dump that mostly on the TV thing. I don't know how that works. Again, don't have a business degree. Don't understand how to evade my taxes. But to take 40 billion and be like, well, the vast majority of that's going to go on TV and they somehow have to make the revenue back. Who knows how that affects Warner Brothers in relation to AEW?
Yeah. Well, as we know, AEW has a TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery up until 2027, which increases in value as the years go on. So again, it's kind of like this situation is just a bit of a holding thing right now because this is very recent news. We have no idea how it's going to impact anything for this company moving forward, or especially not going to affect any people that have agreements or deals with them like AEW. I think realistically, it's one of like 3 different routes, which is one, they'll get tied up in like HBO Max and they'll just become a streaming service when the next deal is ready to go, and they'll just be on HBO Max instead. 2, they'll be used as like a pure like cable thing for them if they decide that they're worth keeping around, if they think that they can help them recover some of the overarching losses. But the big reason doing this is the fact that like cable is dying as a medium, and so they need to like switch that stuff around. Like it's just losing viewers year in like about like probably 7 or 8% viewership down every single year. So streaming is the future, even though it's not a moneymaker. So it's a case of like putting AEW on one of those 2 branches, depending on what they feel like is most useful for it. Or, and this is like an eminent possibility as well, AEW just negotiates with another network when the 3 years are up.
Mm-hmm. Which,
I don't think.
By the way, I forgot to mention as well, part of the TV side of that, the global network thing, is TNT Sports and Bleacher Report. Which used to, of course, have the AEW pay-per-views. Yeah.
I mean, the people that are going to say like this, like try and look at this and say, like, is this like a death knell for AEW? It's like, first of all, like AEW could not be on any TV network and it would still be going because Tony Khan would just fund it with his own money.
Absolutely.
So yeah, AEW is not going to die off the back of this, and they will find another place because their ratings are strong enough that they can sustain going on to another place. There will be at least another network that will be fine, like to. Like will want wrestling content, or at least want the viewership that their stuff brings in. So I don't think there's any real issue there. It's just whether it continues as part of Warner Bros. Discovery is the biggest if point in this whole scenario right now. But we have to probably just wait and see, like in the months ahead, when more clarity is found in this. Because this split isn't happening until mid 2026 anyway. So
and yeah, for that matter, about the where would AEW go? They would even go to YouTube if they needed to.
Oh yeah, they would just go to YouTube and they would just run pay-per-views through, or they would just run things through Triller or something like that, or get a deal with something else. They'd find something to do in the meantime before they got like main TV stuff again, and they would be back on TV or they'd be back on a streaming network pretty soon, I'd imagine. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much from that side of things. It's just, it's like the thing that's most likely to like hurt AEW or kill AEW is their bosses rather than any competition from WWE or something like that.
Agreed.
And that could be one of those things, though, that if they're trying to shop around, like, hey, can we get Ring of Honor on TV? Can we do that AEW Shockwave thing? Like right now, I would assume that Warner Brothers would not want to pay to add more if they're trying to like dump everything. And that might matter. I don't know how this works either, again, as I said, but it might even be a situation where their whole plan is TV is going down, cable is dying, and if we dump all of our stuff and our debt into the TV and cable things, we can eventually declare bankruptcy on that side while keeping the other stuff separate. And the streaming thing will be like, okay, we're going to roll in TNT and all that stuff, and we're going to put that all into the streaming thing, and then we're going to officially bankrupt global networks and write off our debt. Because everything's about write-offs. I don't know how it fucking works as somebody that doesn't earn much money and then has to pay money, you know, but then again, I'm not a fucking crook. So somebody pays people to figure this shit out. But I don't think that we're going to get any kind of like, new AEW programming over the course of this next deal, now that this is happening.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. Like, I think AEW has enough right now.
They have more than enough. They don't need to do any more. WWE doesn't need to do any more either. We need to merge some of this stuff. That urge to merge. Get rid of some of this wrestling shit. Speaking of having enough and going through this whole thing, we got to talk about Summer Blockbuster. And I'm going to hold off on one of the bits of the discussion, this unified title, as the final thing that we're going to talk about here. But other things had happened over the course of that 4-hour show. And I'm very glad that we are going to have a 2-hour show next week with Grand Slam Mexico. But some interesting stuff. Of course, any show has potentially some interesting things. Some things that just mostly wasted time. That's typically what happens on any wrestling show, especially when it comes to AEW, where they love their like 6-man tags and stuff. But Ospreay and Strickland, we took some story beats going forward with that. Well, Ospreay takes a tack shoe to the face. The sneakers were intended for Swerve. And later on in the show, Hangman Page stood up for Swerve and told the Young Bucks, like, hey, you stay out of everybody's business, and that includes Swerve, who overheard it.
Supposedly, yeah, he overheard it, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe we're finally leaning towards them.
Mutual respect a little bit.
Yeah.
The opposite of the chicken fatu thing.
I don't love the idea of Ospreay, Swerve versus Young Bucks. Not because I don't think it'll be a banger match, but just because it feels like the more impactful tag team match would be Swerve Hanger, but that's okay.
I think that was the potential other option if they wouldn't have gone the direction of Hangman winning.
Yeah, I think there was probably a good part of them that wanted Ospreay to win.
Ospreay and Mox, and then Hangman and Swerve teaming up.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like the route they're taking, because I think you need to just lay a bit more groundwork for a Swerve and Hangman tag team. I think they should continue to keep themselves at a distance for a while, or at least like interacting, but not full blown like showing respect to each other. But yeah, this was just like a series of excellent segments. Like the Ospreay Strickland match was, as you would typically imagine, fantastic. Went to a time limit draw. Strickland wanted to have go for an extra 5 minutes to sudden death, but then you had Death Riders come out, and then the Young Bucks come out, and Ospreay sacrificed himself for Strickland, just making him more like sympathetic as the babyface in this whole situation. Then later on in the show, you had they'd done a segment earlier on where it was Hangman arrived in the building with Christopher Daniels, and then he was being stalked by the Death Riders, and then he comes out, he's got taped up mouth, and Moxley's just berating him. He's almost doing like the same thing that Ospreay did. In this, like, he did this motivational speech saying, "You're the guy. This is your choice." And Moxley basically just said the same thing, that he did it to try and put pressure on Hangman instead, which I think was a nice touch. And then Hangman gets a little headbutt on him. He gets beaten up, and then the Ops come out to save him. And then you had so the backstage segment where the Bucks saying, "Oh, we're trying to help you win the title and bring it back to the Elite," and Hangman having to reiterate that he's not part of the Elite, and Swerve and Nana overhearing that to like makes it like, oh, maybe he is right, being genuine about this, or maybe they're thinking, oh, that was a nice little act they put on in front of our door conveniently, so they'll think that we don't know that they're working together. So there's still many different routes they can take with this, but I think that they did a really good job in continuing to build the Hangman and Moxley match, the biggest thing for All In. So
we had Mystico beat Blake Christian. Then we had a follow-up segment with the whole MJF saying that he was going to fight Mystico in some fashion or whatever. He's apparently going to bring back the American Championship for it.
Well, he's going to bring back the gimmick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the championship is, I highly doubt it's like on the line. It's now an official title, anything along those lines. It seems like he's just going to be carrying the belt out to get some heat in Mexico.
Well, hold on. Why do you keep thinking he's even bringing the belt?
Because he said he was going to dust off the belt.
He said he was dusting off the red, white, and blue.
And he said the American Championship.
Did he say the belt?
He said the phrase he did. So he's dusting off red, white, blue, and he said, "God bless the United States of America. God bless your American champion, and God bless your American hero, MJF." So he's not necessarily saying he's bringing the title back, but he's calling himself the American champion.
Yeah, I don't think we even see the belt. I wouldn't mind seeing the belt. I think fine for this one match, but
I think a big reason why they're doing this is, well, first of all, obviously they're going to be in Mexico, and like immediately establishes him as the heel and match Mystico. Not that he wouldn't anyway, because Mystico's a legend anyway in CMLL. But it's also the fact that
okay.
Well, I think the main reason why he's doing it is because the last time he wrestled in CMLL, which was in Arena Mexico, which was sometime last year, he was the American champion and he was doing that gimmick. So maybe it's a bit of continuity to make sure the audience like, oh yeah, we remember that guy. So yeah, but I think that they're building up to it because they had MJF not only take the mask of like Mascara Dorada off their trios match with the Hurt Syndicate against them and Jet Speed, but also against also took the mask of Commander, who was supposed to be in that trios match but was injured, and so they wrote him off with that backstage angle. So that's like they're basically going to build that whole match around that MJF's going to want to take Mystico's mask.
Be kind of great if he does.
He called him Sin Cara too.
Sloppy Sin Cara.
But no, Mystico's going to win that match, probably, almost certainly, I'd imagine. But and also it's quite funny that MJF's now wearing MVP's attire.
Yeah, I do think that's good.
Yeah, the with the circles on the back, I thought that was pretty interesting. Mascara Dorada had replaced Commander in there. It seems like Commander's injured legitimately, so that sucks. There's the Hangman Page thing, Ty Mello and Anna Jay, another tag team, I guess the Tay J thing. So more that, there might be something to the idea of tag titles, but they still haven't announced anything yet with that. Harley Cameron has plenty of other people she could team with if they don't want to keep up the Anna Jay thing, or they could just, figure something out. Again, I'm going to wait on this unified thing. FTR, I don't know what they're planning on doing with this, but it seems like it's just, oh wait, no, did they announce actually that there was like the 12-man or 10-man tag or something? But that's right, forgot about that. Atlantis and Atlantis Junior were out. FTR came out to say, well, we want to have a match in Arena Mexico because we haven't done that yet. We haven't crossed that off. And this led to just a bunch of random people being, Brody King and Adam Cole and Templario and Bandito and Don Callis family and all this stuff just being like, all right, well, we're going to justify a bunch of 10-man, 12-man tags. That's kind of part of your lineup. Sure, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you can tell like when they switch over from the kind of Dynamite half of this show, this Summer Blockbuster, and they're going into the Collision side. And honestly, the thing that really signals it's time to move over to the Collision side is it's all about the boom.
I hate it.
Oh god,
that's your mark that it's Collision time.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah, we'll come back and talk about that too for sure because that was funny.
But, Yeah, but so they set up like these matches. You know, they want to get a lot of people on the card, and you know, Mexico's pretty prominent for their trios and multi-man tag team matches. So it'll be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of just motion in those matches. So yeah, they're just there to help fill out the card and get some more faces on it. So that's good for them.
Tony's trying to beat Julia Hart. Nothing really going on there, and that was kind of meh. There was a follow up with Mercedes. Yeah, I didn't like that segment. I thought that was pretty stupid. Ricochet laughed in the face of like Christian and Lee Johnson. He's like, "You're great, but you actually are kind of just want to be Ricochet and you suck, Matt."
Well, he's just trying to like feed into the idea of like who he's going to be building this crew or faction around. I know everyone said like, "Oh, it's crew," so eventually it's going to be crew eventually, but he's seemingly just doing the rounds for certain other like lower mid card guys.
Tekla beat Queen Amanado. Mentioned that a little bit. Don Callis finally beats Paragon and Daniel Garcia. It was all about the boom at the end of the contract signing segment, and that is where we get into some of that other stuff because, man, I am not a fan of what they're doing with this. They unveiled that the winner of the winner takes all match between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada at All In Texas for the International and Continental Championship will be given a new belt, the Unified Championship. There is no other name inside of it. It's the fucking Unified Champion on the belt. So again, for the people that are, for some reason, I don't know, some jackass tweeted at me being like, "Oh, you don't fucking understand how this works. It's whatever," and all that. I'll reiterate what I said in my article about it. This sucks in both ways. Either scenario one happens where they do not have two championships anymore. You have merged these two titles. Going forward, the winner will hold this belt. And you're calling it the Unified Championship, which is a dumb name for it because it's unifying what? Oh, you're supposed to just know. And it's just going to be called the Unified title. And that's your like secondary, like your B tier above the TNT title. You've got a world champion and a unified champion. Dumb fucking name. Or this is a completely placeholder, pointless belt that the winner will carry. And it'll be two separate championships still, but they'll be carrying this and somehow defending one of the other championships, meaning that they also need to carry those two championships out. Or when they lose, let's say Kenny Omega wins this, and Kenny Omega is holding the Unified Championship belt and not carrying the other championship, then somebody beats him for the international title, and they can't hold up this championship because they are not also the other champion. Either you win both, and this is the championship, and it's got a dumb name, or you carry both those championships and this unnecessary belt, and then you hand them the one championship that you now lost, and then now you have to stop holding the unified title because now you are only, say you lost the international title, you hand that person the international championship, you can't hold the unified title anymore, you're back to holding just the continental.
Hey, bud. You're overthinking it. It's one belt.
They're getting rid of the continental one in now.
I was letting you go, but I was like, oh shit, he really was. But
that's where I'm getting the arguments online where people are like, well, they're going to split them. They can't split them in a way that would make sense like that.
They're not splitting them. It's one belt.
It's one belt with a dumb fucking name.
It's an upper mid-card championship. It is.
That is also where you're wrong.
So you would like if WWE would have taken the Undisputed Championship, that it would be, instead of the WWE Undisputed Championship, that it would just be Undisputed Championship.
Wait, are you saying when you said
at least according to what like Wrestling Observer have been reporting about this, is that it will be treated as a second world championship.
Again, dumb name.
So, like, Sean is also saying it's going to be treated as a major championship, but I can't imagine it being treated on the same level as the World Championship unless your plan is to like make two separate brands.
Well, I mean, the idea is you can't have two like world title level things. I think the idea behind this belt is not even just beyond the as I say, I don't think the name is particularly great, but I'll get over it. Like, it's one of those things. It's just like the belt itself looks fantastic, so I'm happy with that. But I think that the kind of beyond the fact that it's going to be bringing together like the international and the continental championships is the fact that this belt, kind of the basis of it, is actually Okada and Omega, because part of the belt's design is that it has Omega doing the one-winged angel on one of the side plates and Okada doing the Rainmaker on another one of the side plates, and that's going to stay regardless of who the champion is.
So that does mean it has to have a certain level of importance to it.
Yeah, because they're building it around not just like the legacy of the two titles that are being brought together. They're bringing it on the legacy of Okada and Omega's careers and their rivalry against each other. So by that token, they're going to have to try and treat it as a super big deal because of that reason. So, I think that as a name goes, it's not the greatest, but I think they were just so desperately trying to avoid calling it the Intercontinental Championship.
Which is staring you right in the fucking face.
Well, I think the reason they don't want to quit the Intercontinental title is because they don't want it to be seen as a secondary to the world title, or they don't want to see it as a level below the world championship. Because every iteration of the Intercontinental title, because I'm not saying they can't call it that, because you can call it that, because New Japan had an Intercontinental title at the same time WWE had an Intercontinental title, and I'm sure other promotions have had Intercontinental titles. So it's not like WWE owned the rights to the Intercontinental Championship. So you can call it that, but I think it's the fact that in WWE and in New Japan, it was clearly a rung below the World Championship, and I don't think, at least initially, we'll see where we are 6 months down the line after it, but at least initially, they don't want it to be immediately pigeonholed in that ranking.
Which to me, it already makes no sense either, because the only way you can say that it's on par to the world title is if you make it a world championship. And not calling it a world championship and saying it's a unified 2 mid-card titles definitively makes it's on par or above the TNT title, but it's 100% definitely lower than the world title. So You're already doing it anyway. And you just happen to also be giving it a really stupid name. They'd be like if the NXT and the NXT UK titles merged, and instead of it being the NXT Championship, they were like, okay, it's the not WWE World title. And you'd be like, that's a roundabout way of like, what? Yes, it's unified, but you can't call it. Not that I would have said continental, because I know people were joking about that, but like, he could have named it almost anything. It could have been like, okay, it's going to be rebranded the I mean, not that I wouldn't have wanted it to be the global championship, because I think that's dumb, but like, it could have been the global championship or the whatever championship to make it seem like it's like, all right, that's the new name going forward. It's not international, it's not continental, it's not intercontinental, but it's the blah blah blah. Unified championship. You just call it the merged belt? The fuck?
I mean, that's technically what it is. As I say, I'm not a huge fan of the name itself, so there definitely could have been better options, and they've decided to go with this, which is, again, it's one of those things that will annoy me for a little while, but I'll get over it. But it is essentially a unified championship. It's bringing together two of their like mid-card championships together into one new belt. So, as people look at it, so like, oh, that's why they call it the unified title. That seems like a weird name. It's like, well, here's the history behind it, and then you do a bit of looking into the history of it. As long as you explain it, or at least like make it easy to understand why it's called the Unified Championship. I'm sure like every match they'll have, at least for a year or so, like you'll have Excalibur on commentary explaining like how this belt came together in the first place.
Which seems so unnecessary.
Well, if you're going to call it that, then that's what you do. I say they probably could have picked a better name for it, but we're stuck with it now, so I'll get over it. I've already gone over it. It's pretty quick. So So yeah, I think that. Yeah, I imagine the future thing will be like the Continental Classic will still be around, but it will be like the winner will get the shot at this title instead, or the champion will be involved in it like they were last year round. So yeah, we'll have to just wait and see. We don't know how it's going to progress beyond like the Okada and Omega match. So
I'd like to see them at least do this. If they're gonna, if they already made this mistake, they already can't completely backtrack. But I would like to see it be, okay, you can call it the unified, if you're going to keep it as one belt, let's put it that way, because there is a chance. We have seen plenty instances where people have won titles and it's like, okay, now you're just holding both the ROH 6-man tag and the trios championships and you're not merging them or something. Tony Khan has walked back the Eddie Kingston wins the Continental Classic and he's a Triple Crown champion, and that's why it's the crown and it's whatever and all that stuff, and they split all the titles anyway. If they keep it as one championship, I hope that he sees the backlash from this and he goes, okay, look, it's not that difficult to change this belt. Personally, I don't love the idea that there's a Rainmaker on the one side and a One-Winged Angel on the other side. For a couple different reasons. One, I think it's going to be a little ridiculous if going forward, hey, Samoa Joe's holding this title and he's got these two other guys' finishers on it. But I don't like side plates that have graphics of embossed wrestlers to begin with. I've never liked that, so that's a personal thing as well. But I hope the plan ends up being, I can just change the word unified on this to whatever I rename it, and whoever beats Omega or Okada for it gets rechristened as something else, the way that the All Atlantic became the International. Maybe he doesn't have a name for it yet. Maybe it takes a while. Maybe the champion holds it for a while and you've got time to kill, because realistically the person who wins this shouldn't be dropping it immediately anyway. But eventually, I don't want to see whoever wins next continuing to hold a championship called the Unified Championship, and 3 years from now it's like, well, that's the unified title. To me, that's kind of as dumb as TNA creating the Legends Championship, where it's like, you didn't fucking think that through at all, did you? Call it the Grand Championship. I like the name of that. The AEW Grand Championship. There you go. Perfect name in my mind.
Don't take anything from TNA, especially that era of TNA. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the name. I think the Intercontinental title is right there. I don't care that you don't want it to be seen as a step below the world title. It is. Your world title is your world title. The Intercontinental title could have its own legacy, but that is what it is. I also want to get into the actual build of this. Why the fuck is Don Callis in this story?
I don't understand why that's happening either.
Do we fucking need this? Every time Omega does something cool, does it have to involve Don Callis?
Okada doesn't need to be in the Don Callis family anyway. They've got Konosuke Takeshita, they've got Josh Alexander, they've got Kyle Fletcher. If they have Okada in there, it's going to take away from their progression, I think.
I don't think he's part of the Don Callis family. I think he's just working with him to try and get an edge over Omega, and it's just a one-off thing for them.
Yeah, but it's very frustrating.
I don't necessarily think that he should be involved in this as well, but I think it's just one of those eternal feud things where if anything that Omega's doing, Don Callis is going to try and get involved in some form or fashion. I mean, I like the angle in terms of the the blood capsule stuff that they did.
He really feud.
He hit him right in the diverticulitis, and just
right in the diverticulitis.
Yeah. So I liked that. I think it added another dimension to the feud, because I like the fact they did almost a teased babyface turn for Okada by having Don Callis family come up to him and say, "Oh, why isn't Takeshita or O'Reilly one of the champions going into this match instead?" And then Okada and Omega showing respect to each other in the contract signing, before doing the full turn or the full affirmation, the fact that he's still heel and he'll be the bad guy going into this match. So I think the angle itself was effective. and is helping building up the match. But yeah, as I say, there's always quibbles that we can come up with these things as well. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. We'll just see what. I'm just still looking forward to the match. I really like the video package they did as well, building up to it. That was really good using the New Japan footage.
You need to tell people why this is the biggest match you could possibly do. But I'm just annoyed because it's like fucking callous. Like you have to get in everything. But I guess anybody would say, well, that's what you're supposed to feel. Whatever.
But I thought it was even more annoying that it was we put a pin in it for earlier. Oh man, anybody hits Kenny Omega in the stomach one time and he basically spits up blood. How the fuck is he supposed to be wrestling any matches going forward? We're not supposed to care about that whatsoever.
I know, he did.
Well, hang on, he got hit by the metal rod to the gut, and then he got hit by one elbow drop, and then another elbow drop. It was a lot of. It wasn't just one shot to the gut, and he started spewing blood everywhere.
I'll tell you what, though, it makes the Death Predators look dumb. Why didn't they just beat the shit out of his stomach at Anarchy in the Arena?
Right, it's simple, but even more so. What I thought was
just
funny.
hit him right in the right place.
He knows. He studied.
Yeah.
Even more so, that I thought was funny. Oh man, we haven't seen anything such brutality as this like ever. I've been here for decades, and that's just so brutal. We don't even know how to react to that. It's all about the boom, woo.
Yeah, that was very much AEW. Not they often fall into a trap of not letting the moment breathe enough before doing something like that. And Adam Cole just coming out and doing his little pose and joining commentary. It's like, you could have just had Adam Cole just come out and just walk without having to his theme music.
Or you could have had him check on Kenny, for God's sake, they're friends.
Or just have him on commentary at the start of it, because like you were coming out here to do commentary for this thing. Sorry, we've had to kind of just thought, and he just says, "Oh yeah, like this was like a really terrible situation. Hope Kenny's doing well." And then you go into the match itself, just say, "Oh, you got to try and regain our focus here because we have the first match of we'll have our next match coming up now." So, but yeah, I think they wanted to make sure they ended the show on the 2-hour mark on something that was very impactful.
Absolutely crazy to me. It's just so fucking weird. But yeah, the Unified Championship going forward is going to be the thing. I'm going to bitch and complain about it every time I hear about it because I think it's absolutely ridiculous of a name. So I look forward to that on the podcast going forward. Is me going this fucking title. And I don't have anything else that I had down for Summer Blockbuster or anything else you guys want to talk about?
One thing I mentioned, I know we obviously breezed over the Tony Storm and Mercedes segment, but one thing to note is that Mercedes is going to be challenging for the CMLL Women's World Championship at Grand Slam. So she's challenging Zeuxis for the Women's Championship. I mean, it can go one of two ways. One, like she's either winning the title, which is probably likely because she hasn't lost on AEW TV, and that's technically an AEW TV show, so they're not going to want to do that. Or Tony Storm is going to get involved and cost her the match to help build up for the match at All In. But I think the likelihood is she'll probably win the title.
I agree.
I think so too. That way she just has even more championships to carry into there. And I still think that she beats Tony Storm and has that title too. That just means to, get a lot of that more belts thing going on. Wouldn't even be surprised if that was part of her contract. It was like, I want to do the belt collector thing.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like they want it. I think that'll probably be just like a pitch that Tony Khan gave to her, and also the fact like if she's working on the promotions, I would probably say that all promotions would probably go, yeah, she should probably be our champion. Like if you got the opportunity to make Mercedes Moné your champion, you probably should do it.
Yeah, I mean, people forget WrestleMania main eventer. If you got the opportunity, if you're some indie somewhere and you got the opportunity to make a WrestleMania main eventer your champion, yeah, I'm doing it.
All right. Those are the hot tags that we got down for this episode. We had a long one, the hours and 40 minutes long. But we hope that you enjoyed that, and we want to make sure that you help support us. And if you do like this, of course, hit the like button and all that stuff. Make sure that you're doing all this marketplace things we mentioned before about clicking on the join button, supporting us on Patreon, tossing a little spare change our way with the thanks button, pick up some merchandise at Redbubble and TeePublic, which I think at this point, the Dashery thing got on there because I bullied them into finally paying attention to me, and they seemingly sorted it out. So you should be able to see some shop options on YouTube now. And if not, then let me know and I'll bully them some more. Also go to the link tree that you can find at anthonymango.com or amangotree.com. Follow all my personal stuff over there and follow Rob and Callum on their options.
Yep, you can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. If you're looking for options, there's plenty of them. There's YouTube, there's Twitter, there's Blue Sky, there's Instagram, there's Twitch. So check all that stuff out. Thank you guys for supporting. Support Fightful, support Fightful Select, and check out what Callum has going on.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wigmeister14. You can follow the power rankings over at smarkmemo.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. So this will be the one following Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide, to make sure, so you'll likely see a lot of the people that participated on those shows there. And you can also head on over to the Fantasy League, which has also been impacted by those shows, to see how all of our teams are doing, who's picking up points, as we head on over to Night of Champions as the next big show coming up. So follow that along there at either through Smark at the moment or go straight to www.fantasyleague.com to see the latest standings.
Alrighty, everybody. You know the deal. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and stay tuned. Next week, we are, I believe, still in a blank week prior to Night of Champions. So we're trying to workshop some ideas about what to do based off of like King and Queen of the Ring or something. I had thought about doing something with the Marvel DC stuff, and I started to work on that and realized that I wasn't just really feeling the concept a whole lot. So if you want me to tell you what I worked on with that and who I already crowned as my King of the Ring, my world champion, my mid-card champion, and my tag team champions for Marvel and DC on the men's side, maybe I'll put out a dark cast and just be like, look, this is what's working. This is what wasn't working about it, that kind of thing. Let me know. I could always put stuff up on Fanboys Anonymous too. But also, if you have any ideas of something else you would like us to do based off of King and Queen of the Ring or based off of Night of Champions, then let us know that too, because we are kind of workshopping some ideas, maybe mock draft related, maybe, I don't know, top rope listy, or I don't know, whatever it might be. But you got time to figure it out over the next couple days. Till then, adios. We'll see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.